Hello and welcome back to SoCalCollegeSports.com's continuing coverage of the softball championships here from Bakersfield College Championship Sunday. I am Mike Cepeda, joined alongside Matt Folsom and Jeff Stoynoff. And gentlemen, what a fantastic weekend of softball it is. And we are down to two, Sacramento City versus Santiago Canyon College, SEC versus SEC, in what should be a pretty great day of softball.
Two of the top conferences represented here today, and I think that you're going to see a team, Sacramento City College, that wasn't necessarily expected to get here. They upset Fresno City in their super regional. Talking with Tim Kiernan before the game, he said this is a great group of people. He said they're not necessarily as talented as some of the other teams that he's seen here, but they have great heart, they have great character, and great chemistry. Those intangibles oftentimes are the mark of a champion.
Yeah, talk about a team in this foursome that is the greatest example of the sum being greater than the parts, and that's the sense you get. They've done just enough. An incredibly dramatic win in Game 3, setting up an opportunity to just win 1 out of 2 to get it done. But yeah, a team that seems to have come up with exactly what they need when they need it.
But you talk about talent on that Sacramento City squad, and that is in the circle. We're going to see her today. And that's Callie Sargent, and she's as talented as any pitcher we've seen here. And a talented athletic pitcher can carry you to a championship as well.
Absolutely. And speaking of aces in the hole, Santiago Canyon College has one of their own, and we want to talk about something that we had touched on yesterday. For the player of mention that Jeff is going to bring up right now.
Yeah, we had talked about Shannon Thornton and her 11-0 record. Riley Narwald starting both games 4 and 5 back-to-back. And we did start to speculate a little bit about would Shannon Thornton be available. We're not privy to all the information on a given roster and players' availability. And one of the things we did talk about was the possibility that there might have been a disciplinary issue.
In addition to there maybe being an
injury or something like that. We started to throw around those terms, and we want to be very clear that while we were speculating about a player that we don't have all the information on, it's very important to mention that there is no disciplinary issue, and Shannon Thornton is, in fact, available.
A model student athlete, to be sure.
And if you're wondering why Riley Narwald started back-to-back games, beyond the format that the number one pitcher is usually who you ride here in a championship event, take a look at the start in Game 5 by Riley Narwald, who goes the route and allows 1 run and really dominates San Mateo. So there was your answer. So, Shannon Thornton, no issues whatsoever, obviously available if needed today. And we want to be very clear that that's the truth of what's going on.
The ace in the hole, to be sure, for SEC. It's SEC versus SEC, Santiago Canyon and Sac City coming up here, the championship day, Sunday here on SoCalCollegeSports.com. Happy you've joined us, everybody. Stay with us.
And we welcome you back to Bakersfield College. We are set to go in Game 6. Championship Sunday here in the CCCAA Softball Championships on SoCalCollegeSports.com. Jeff Stoynoff, Matt Folsom back with you from the Dean and Ada Gay Sports Complex here at Bakersfield College. And Matt, Sacramento City, 2 down, 1 to go here. They are obviously in the driver's seat if they can win one of the next 2. They're the state champions here in 2016.
Such an advantage winning those first 2 games and getting here with an undefeated record. You know, I don't think you can put a price on that as a coach at this level or any level. Playing in a winner's bracket all the way through is just tantamount to championships.
And let's talk about something that only occurs to me right now that I think is an oddity, and that is that Justin Bebout was announced as the pitcher. And in the lineup submitted as a pitcher, I believe, at least the one that I saw, but it's Callie Sargent who's out there warming up, and that would, at least from what we've seen this weekend, be more fitting with what we've seen in terms of strategy. But it looks like it's Sargent that's getting the call.
It's a very common practice to hand in a lineup that has a starting pitcher either at the flex position or as a DP, and then they announce when they have the coaches meeting down there, they announce that they will, in fact, have their ace, not as the DP, but as the pitcher.
Okay, so then somebody else will be the DP, and we'll have to wait and see.
Justin Bebout will be the DP.
Okay, so it's Bebout who will bat then.
Either that or they're dropping, and the umpire, I actually went down and asked him. The umpire did not tell me they were going to drop the flex player. I would think, I'll let you introduce who's at the plate right now.
Right. Well, it's Jordan Hicks who will lead things off. She'll be followed by Jessica Daniel and Emily Olegi here in the top of the first. And head coach Lisa Camargo making no changes in her lineup all weekend, and she is going with the same lineup here.
When you've got a bat like Callie Sargent, you're not going to have a DP. So they're going to drop the 10 spot, which would be the DP, and you're going to go strictly with Callie Sargent at the bat.
Just as long as you explain to me what's going on here throughout the day as you have all weekend, I think we'll be fine. Here's the 2-0 to Hicks. And Hicks takes the one on the outside corner. 2 balls, 1 strike. It should be mentioned also that this is the second meeting of the season between these two teams. They met back on January 30th. It was the same pitching matchup, Narwhal and Callie Sargent, and it was Santiago Canyon that dominated at Santiago Canyon, winning 8-0.
Well, and I think we saw right-handers struggle all weekend against Callie Sargent, although San Mateo was able to get 5 runs off her yesterday.
Yep.
The lefty lineup that you see from Santiago Canyon, I believe, is to their advantage at the plate against Callie Sargent.
Sargent rocks and fires, line but right to third, and Avila has it. So Hicks lines out to get things started here in the top of the first, and that will bring up Jessica Daniel. And Daniel had a big Saturday, getting on base repeatedly in the 2 victories, and she had, I want to say, 3 stolen bases at least. I can't remember if she stole another one in Game 5, but she was all over the base paths and really keying this offense.
You're going to see the corners for the Sac City defense in against these lefties all game long.
It's the daily double of Hicks and Daniel all season, both with averages up in the 400 or above 400 range. And really keying this offense, which was, not surprisingly, tops in the state.
And Jordan Hicks with that line drive to open it up. Perfect placement by Avila. But that also has the potential with a blast getting past and going a long way.
Daniel tried the running start, but takes that one on the outside corner. 1 ball, 1 strike the count. Well, Sargent's been really, if you look at this season, a little bit of a mixed bag between dominance and some struggling. It's been a lot more dominance. Bunted in the air, playable for Luffel, and she has it for out number 2. Well, but Sargent has been one of those pitchers that more often than not she's completely dominating. But as you alluded to a moment ago, she can struggle, and she did in the first meeting between these two teams. So we'll kind of have to wait and see here and see which Callie Sargent we get.
Well, we saw the other side of that struggling coin on Friday, where she was the dominant pitching performance we've seen here this week.
Yeah, absolutely, stifling the Cypress bats in a shutout. That'll bring up Olegi, and Olegi has been caution flammable here this weekend with a couple of home runs, a couple of bombs yesterday.
The most impressive hit that she had all weekend did not go out of the park.
That laser beam into left center.
Left center. We have our headphones on, and we could hear it jangle the fence.
Yeah, I think only the fence got in the way, and it's because she just didn't quite get it high enough. Otherwise, that ball might still be going.
So you talk about her 2 home runs, but her single was the most impressive hit of the game.
Here's the 0-2 as Sargent's quickly on top, tries the outside corner, but misses. Olegi with the average up over 500. Well, let me correct myself. The up-to-date average listed at 496 for Olegi with the 19 home runs, 70 runs batted in. And that's probably teetering on Triple Crown territory right there.
Yeah.
Those numbers so very impressive. Meanwhile, Sargent continues to nibble at the corners, and it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Vigurtza waits on deck if Olegi can keep it alive here in the top of the first. Sargent's pitch foul tipped.
You know, it was interesting watching her in the bullpen warming up, and it was riser after riser after riser. An assistant coach actually holding her hands above her head, and it with like holding the bat above her head. And Sargent was trying to hit a spot way up high. And that's
bouncing ball, Avila on the big hop across for out number 3. 1, 2, 3 in the top of the first. We're underway. It's Championship Sunday and the CCCAA Softball Championships here on SoCalCollegeSports.com. We head to the bottom of the first from Bakersfield. It'll be Madison Butkoff, Katie Gravel, and Gabby Ortiz leading things off against Riley Narwald. Riley Narwald should be familiar to us by now. We only saw her for about 250 pitches yesterday in back-to-back wins, and she's right back in the circle here, needing a couple of more.
She was masterful targeting the inside of the plate yesterday, and we saw pitch after pitch by San Mateo fouled off down to third base line.
And the first thing that I noticed as I look at the lineup today is only one lefty in the lineup for Sacramento City. So things setting up well for Narwhal, but of course that's a long way from finishing it off. Sacramento City in the winner's bracket, a pair of victories so far, the 2 victories coming by just 3 runs. But as we alluded to at the top, this is a team that has shown that they do what they need to win.
The intangibles have come through here down south.
So Butkoff comes in, batting .396. Pops it on the right side. Howe takes it over near the back.
Then you saw Narwhal working the inside corner the first 2 pitches, and she got one of those as a called strike. She was at her best with that, and then moved it over to the plate and got Butkoff to pop up.
Well, she's just a marvelous how-to on pitching, the way that she works it inside and then starts to work it outside. And, you imagine that there's a lot of just location and changing speeds is so very critical and is really what it takes to be successful, pitching at any level. And not so much about just, incredible movement, although that certainly doesn't hurt. if you have that as part of the picture as well.
It's always nice to have Jenny Finch who can hit you with the heat and also fastball moves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's that lefty you talked about, Katie Gravel.
Yeah, no balls and 1 strike quickly on Gravel. The infield in at the corners for the speedy Gravel. The runner bounced to second. Soika loses the handle as she starts to go to throw, and Gravel is aboard. And Matt, let's talk very quickly there as that's likely going to be scored an error. fielding has been a major issue this weekend, really, for all four teams. And I know that we've talked a little bit about some of the bounces on the infield, but I will clear up something here very important. Obviously, we're talking about a dirt infield here. And to me, if you ask me, it's dirt infields, you're going to produce some bad bounces. It's just, it goes with the territory of dealing with something that's unpredictable like dirt. And I want to be very clear that that's not meant as any kind of denigration of the job being done as that one's lined to center for a base hit. The job being done by the grounds crew. The facility looks fantastic. They've obviously done a great job. And you want to be very clear. I want to be very clear personally that when I'm talking about a very important theme of the weekend, which is some of the fielding miscues, that, we're talking about unpredictable bounces, but that's not the same thing as suggesting that the grounds crew has in any way been remiss or not done an outstanding job preparing the field for play.
Well, this is what I've heard from horses' mouths, so to speak, that the field did not cause the errors as much as the stage set the errors, the deer in the headlights, just the poor execution of fundamentals caused the errors. And that is the overwhelming sentiment by a number of coaches who are not here anymore. And that's their sentiment, that it wasn't the field.
Yeah.
It was just poor execution, things they had worked on all year long, not keeping your eye on the ball, not keeping your glove down, just that kind of stuff happened on this stage.
And as I've looked at the eye test, I've seen some tough bounces, but I've also seen some balls that looked very playable,
right.
and that were also led to errors as well. Another line drive base hit. This will plate one run. Sacramento City gonna take the early lead. Now some miscues on the base pass, but everybody's safe as Luffel is able to get back to first base. Ortiz had stopped at second, and Luffel was on her way to second with what looked like a double, but then she had to quickly reverse. But she was able to get all the way back to first. So mini disaster averted there for Sacramento City, and instead it's all smiles early again for Sacramento City as they lead it 1-0.
3 straight singles produce a run for the Panthers.
So Ortiz at second, Luffel at first, and Narwhal struggling here in the top of the first. And we should point out that even in the dominating performance yesterday in Game 5, where she stifled San Mateo en route to punching their ticket here to Championship Sunday, she did struggle in 2 of the first 3 innings and put some runners on base. So this has been a theme that we've seen before.
I think as she goes on, she gets stronger.
Yeah.
I think there's more movement on her pitches. I think she's better able to spot them, to place them, to hit a spot.
Well, that's something that we wondered about when she got the back-to-back starts yesterday, is maybe she's one of those pitchers like a sinker baller, in baseball, who you sort of want them worn down a little bit because that makes the ball a little heavier, helps them keep it down a little bit. Hot shot back through the box, but Narwhal, fielding her position, goes to get the lead runner.
And that's a heady play by Narwhal. She thought about it for a second. I'm going to go to first, and then had plenty of time. Good communication by the Hawk defense.
And that's an important play because it's runners at first and second now with 2 down instead of, as you're talking about, a second and third. That's an entirely different situation. 1 on the board on a couple of hits here in the bottom of the first. Ready to go. Here is Callie Sargent. She swings at that inside fastball and fouls it into the dugout.
Wow, how surprising.
Yeah, you might see that again. Well, if you're Santiago Canyon, you're hoping you'll see that again a few times. We haven't seen too much of it here in the bottom of the first inning. And Sacramento City has gotten their cuts in. A couple of very clean base hits. And that ball hit by Morgan Welch a moment ago was struck pretty cleanly as well. Narwhal just did a good job in the circle, knocking it down. Sargent quickly down now in the count, no balls and 2 strikes. And if you're thinking about Callie Sargent at the plate, yeah, she's pretty good there too as well. 331 on the season, 4 home runs, 38 runs batted in. So she's not your standard issue pitcher, coming up there to the plate.
And pitcher against pitcher is always an interesting battle.
Here's the 0-2. Narwhal tries the outside corner but misses.
You're not going to give Sargent anything to hit, but I would love to have seen another inside pitch right then and there. They just have been unhittable in this tournament.
Well, I think with the kind of talent that Santiago Canyon brings to the table, and particularly the lineup and the runs that they can put on the board, I think it was absolutely key that Sacramento City jump right out on top and give Callie Sargent that lead and get themselves comfortable in this matchup and start thinking, hey, this is our year. Lined hard but foul. So 2 balls, 2 strikes to count on Sargent. Luffel back to second. Welch back to first.
You know, I spoke with Nicole Borg about Narwhal. And I said, how do you make adjustments to that? And it's really tough. We speculated you move up in the box, move back in the box. It's all in time. And in
ground ball to third off the glove of Langsbury, but right to Carranza, who gets the out at first. I'm going to let you tell me how to score that one. I think it's 5-6-3.
It is 5-6-3.
Well, there you go. Got something right there. 1 run on 2 hits, 1 error, and 2 left on base. We're through 1 inning, and Sacramento City has the 1-0 lead here in the softball championships in the CCCAA. Vigurza, Langsbury, and Soika, 4, 5, and 6 due up against Callie Sargent here in the top of the 2nd inning.
Sounds like you've been practicing those names.
You know, I have a strange affinity for Vigurza, and it's really just, it's come to me. Sometimes you can get tongue-tied, and sometimes a name just works for you.
Yeah, it's a great name, Manoa Vigurza.
She stands in from the right side. Sargent's first offering, just low. 1 ball and no strikes.
You know, back to the name thing, I was just... when you do this, you see names that are kind of interesting. But you see them over and over again. I've never seen an Olegi. I've never seen a Vigurza.
Yeah.
I've seen a Soika. Not too many Langsberries out there. So you see these names that you don't get an opportunity to call very often.
Yeah, no, it's true. Well, I think the most challenging, in my experience, the most challenging games I've done are for the football program for Mount San Antonio College, who does an awful lot of recruiting, I think, in the Pacific Islands.
Yes, they do.
And they're a big part of their success is the great job they do recruiting in that area. And you see some names that you don't run across too often, although you do start to develop a little bit of a feel for how some of the names are pronounced, but you get some there that are quite a challenge. 2 balls, 1 strike on Vigurza. And that one just, on the outside corner. Okay, the delayed call. So 2 balls, 2 strikes on Vigurza, who comes in batting .439. And that average... The scary thing about this lineup is that average barely stands out.
Right.
It's the team hitting upwards of 400 as a team on the season.
They need to get some hits now to get back in this game.
Bouncing ball up the middle. It's a long run for Butkoff, and she knocks it down, but will have no play. A base hit for Vigurza. And the leadoff batter aboard.
And up steps my MVP candidate. She has been, non-pitching wise, she has been the star of this.
Yeah,
a Final Four.
I think if they can pull off the doubleheader win here today and get this one, I think she's going to be everybody's MVP candidate. Well, that's a long way to go. We'll see who might be the heroes today.
You never know.
On either side, but she's gone a long way. She has been red hot at the plate, and she steps in here with a runner at first. Lays down the bunt. It's going to be Sargent who will go to first. So Langsbury moves the runner along, and with 1 down, Santiago Canyon has a runner in scoring position, and that'll bring up Soika.
You know, and it's not necessarily just what she's done at the plate. She has been stellar at the field, in the field as well.
Yeah. I've really been impressed. here as one of my initial experiences with this particular event, but I've been very impressed with all of the third basemen, really. It's a very difficult position, and talking about not just the speed of the balls hit their way and having to regularly field bunts, but how about the fact of the body control with having to keep your body in foul territory or out of foul territory, depending on whether or not you want to field a ball. It's a position with a lot of intricacy to it, and it's been very impressive, really, everybody. Off speed from Sargent in there for a strike.
And that's why in the majority of programs around the CCCAA, your third baseman is often your stud athlete, your best athlete, your physical specimen.
I was going to say it almost feels like the third baseman in softball. Hot smash, a base hit. Vigurtza rounding third. Newman up with the ball, but the throw is cut off, and we're tied at 1. Soika delivers. Getting back to the third baseman very quickly, it almost felt like that the third baseman in softball is a little bit like the shortstop in baseball, almost like the captain of the infield.
Yes.
It's a little bit of speculation on my part, but that's the feel sometimes I get with fielding so many of the balls.
Well, and you often see a third baseman lead the team in home runs and hitting, and you just put good athletes there.
It's the glam position here in softball, I think.
Is.
So Soika at first after the RBI single, and they break through against Sargent and tie it up.
And there's the equalizer, Jeffrey.
Thank you, Proctor.
You're very welcome.
Stolen base attempt, and Soika is into second safely. The ball into center field, but Newman quickly on it. So Soika remains at second.
You know, there are two positions in softball, outside pitcher, and I'm just talking fielding general positions. The two positions are third base and catcher, where you really have your best athletes, the athletes who are often MVPs, who are leading the team or the state in home runs. Those are the two positions, really the most technical positions on the field.
Clark stands in from the left side, gets the running start, but the pitch high, 1 ball, 1 strike.
One of the first true rise balls we've seen so far from Sargent.
Yeah, Sargent getting that one up and out of the zone, but Clark doing a good job laying off. Well, there was reason for confidence for Santiago Canyon coming into this matchup. In the matchup back on January 30th, they got to Sargent for 8 runs in 4 innings. So you wouldn't expect that Santiago Canyon's going to be, too intimidated coming into this matchup, obviously with the success that they've had. Meanwhile, they count now 2 balls and 1 strike on Clark.
Mitch Campbell, the athletic director for Sacramento City College, just arrived.
Another running start for Clark, and that one in there for a strike. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Still only 1 out here in the top of the second in a 1-1 tie. Clark batting .415. How's that for your 7th hitter in your lineup?
Yeah, that's too bad. She needs to pick that up a little bit.
No home runs, 32 runs batted in. It is a scary lineup top to bottom. Tailing fastball is outside, and the count goes full on Clark.
And, it's a complete lineup, not just at the plate, but they can run, too. So
speed,
a combination of speed and getting on is key.
and Vigurtza in the middle lineup. Obviously, Olegi leading the state in home runs, but Vigurtza was 6 as well. So there's some power, there's some pop, obviously, in the middle of the lineup as well. It's exactly right. It's a very complete lineup.
Well, you can have all the speed you want. If you can't get on base, it's pretty wasted.
You can't steal first, I believe is the old adage.
I think they should do that. That should be a new rule.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm all for bringing speed back in the game. Remember our discussion of the concrete mausoleums with the AstroTurf. I missed that from my youth. Here's the 3-2 to Clark. Another runner in this one foul. So Clark's trying to punch one over on that left side. Take that tailing fastball away, but so far
and Morgan
is fired.
Morgan Welch, the left fielder, about 10 steps from the foul line?
Yeah, she's moved way over and cheated in.
Avila hugging the line as well at third.
Bouncing ball right to Avila. Looks the runner back, goes to first in time. Now a late break, and Soika into third. So heady base running from Alyssa Soika. She's now 60 feet away with the go-ahead run, but 2 down, and Brittany Howe will be the batter.
And there's that speed right there and base running. And base running is not necessarily all speed. You have to be really smart about and instinctive. I think that's the main thing with base running. You have to be instinctive and know when to go, know when to get that extra base.
Well, I think that was a very heady play because I think unless the scouting is outstanding and they really know something, Avila's been very sure-handed, played an outstanding third base, already had a couple of nice plays here today. But she didn't exactly flash a cannon on that throw to first, and I think Soika picked up on that and realized that with a jump, she could actually get to third base, and she was right. Ortiz came off the bag and fired it back, but not in time. So it was an extremely heady base running play by Soika. Meanwhile, Tim Kiernan out, and he wants to talk things over. With a runner at 3rd and 2 down, and Brittany Howe coming to the plate.
Probably something about runner leaving too soon. Who knows?
Well, I'm a little surprised to see him because, if anything, I was just about to make the point that I thought Gabby Ortiz clearly came off what looked like a little early to me. And sure enough, as I look down, I now see that Ashley Clark is still at first base. So while I was busy talking about Alyssa Soika at third, let's update things. It appears that Ashley Clark was indeed called safe at first base. And I think, at least to the eye test, that was a very good call.
So, we saw that yesterday where she pulled against San Mateo. She pulled her foot, and the runner was safe.
Yep. Yeah, and I think she saw Soika breaking and maybe cheated just a fraction of a second, but it looked to me like she did come off a little early trying to cut down that lead runner. So
E3.
Yeah, we'll call that E3. So an error now for each team in the first couple innings here, but more importantly, a big opportunity for Santiago Canyon to take the lead here with runners at the corners and still only one out. And Clark has good speed at first.
It's almost redundant.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, when somebody doesn't have good speed, I'll let you know. 27 steals on the season for Ashley Clark, so keep your eye as Brittany Howe stands in against Callie Sargent. First pitch, well inside, and there goes Clark. Luffel couldn't handle the tailing fastball, so Clark slides in without a play.
She was there anyway.
2 stolen bases early on for Santiago Canyon, and again, that's not huge news, but you go back to the first meeting between the two teams, and they had 4 steals in a 5-inning win. So they were running on Callie Sargent quite a bit in the first meeting.
They're going to put Howe on.
So the intentional walk to Howe will load him up, still with only 1 out, and it will bring up Krista Carranza.
This is one of your first exposures to this level of softball. Isn't it interesting how many batters are intentionally walked in this sport? You don't see it in baseball as much.
Well, yeah, and I think part of it is, as I've researched the teams here, and it's ironic to talk about this, but especially these 4 teams, the fielding is outstanding, and you see an awful lot of double plays turned. There's a lot of ground balls hit and a lot of double plays turned, and so I see that they like to create the force out. I think is a big part. And, yeah, I think in baseball, maybe more fly balls, maybe a few more strikeouts sometimes, so you're not as inclined to play, at least from what I've seen here in the CCCAA, for as many double plays. I think it's a great point, but yeah, I think the fielding for these teams has been such a big part of that. So here's Carranza with the bases juiced. The fastball is high, 1 ball and no strikes, and now of course you have the shadow side of this strategy, and that is Callie Sargent has to make sure that she finds the play.
And we talked yesterday about how difficult it is to either slap or bunt against Callie Sargent, since she is high in the strike zone or out of the strike zone up high.
And indeed, Carranza got the running start but wasn't looking to bunt. Tries again and waves and misses at that one. Good fastball from Sargent. And you sense early on, we got a big moment here.
Yes.
Santiago Canyon comes in with an awful lot of momentum the way that they played in the 2 victories yesterday. And if they can jump out, force a what-if game, I think you have to like where they are. This one bunted back toward the mound. Sargent doesn't have a play anywhere. So Carranza with the bunt hit, and I think that Sargent initially thought she was going to go home, but Soika, with a great jump, was too close to home plate, and then Sargent, I think, realized that she didn't have anywhere to go.
And let's give it up to Sargent for not attempting the throw. She knew right away she didn't have a chance to get the speedy Carranza.
So Clark at third, Howe at second, Carranza at first, still only 1 out. Now you got the top of the order in Jordan Hicks. Hicks lays one down, but it's a double hit, so a foul ball waved off. Oh, and they're going to call her out. Okay. Now, I thought that hit the bat twice. Now, that's calling out?
Or
are they saying maybe it made contact with her? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw the double contact.
She's out of the box.
Okay, so I don't know how they score that. Ground 2?
Batter interference.
Okay. So Hicks, I was just getting ready to say that she's had a struggle with the bat this weekend for Santiago Canyon, and boy, if there was anyone who was due. And she tried to drag a bunt but made contact, so 2 down, and now Callie Sargent with an opportunity to get out of this one. Running swing from Daniel, and she fouls it off the instep. So she's going to have to, I believe as you pointed out, rub some dirt on it.
Rub some dirt on it.
Get back to it. So no balls and 1 strike on Daniel. She popped out to the catcher her first time up. But Santiago Canyon with a couple on the board here in the top of the second. They've taken the lead. And, of course, as we talked about a number of times last night, the 2-out hitting been huge for Santiago Canyon really all weekend, but in particular yesterday in the 2 victories. And let's see if it continues into day 3, but they have been outstanding with 2 outs. Sargent rocks and fires, foul back to the screen, and Daniel quickly in a hole.
This is playing right into what the Hawks want to do. You call it small ball. I call it fast ball. You're trying to move runners up as quickly as possible. Yeah. Just make contact.
With this kind of speed. Yep.
You saw it when Sargent wasn't able to throw out Carranza at first.
Absolutely. And this is a monumental batter in terms of importance for Sargent when you consider that it's Emily Olegi who waits on deck. She of the 19 home runs. So Sargent needs to get Daniel for so many reasons here right now. Keep the score at 2-1. Keep Olegi from the plate. It goes on and on. This is a huge moment.
They cannot take the bat out of her hands with an intentional walk with the bases full.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Bounced back to the mound, and Sargent's out of the inning. So a nice job by Sargent. We've seen that a few times this weekend as well, working out of a jam. But Santiago Canyon sends 8 to the plate. 2 runs on 3 hits. 1 error, and 3 left on base. We're through 1.5. Santiago Canyon on top of Sac City, 2-1. It's the CCCAA Softball Championships on SoCalCollegeSports.com. Heading to the bottom of the second inning from Bakersfield College, the Dean and Ada Gay Sports Complex. Jeff Stoynoff, Matt Folsom, Mike Cepeda with you for the CCCAA Softball Championships. And Matt, let's get back to Riley Narwhal, who has just been staked to a 2-1 lead. And I am waiting on pins and needles because we speculated all last night against that tailing inside fastball. How do you look to make adjustments? And you talked to Nicole Borg, the coach of San Mateo, yesterday, and let's have the rest.
The traditional adjustments that you would make, which would be either moving up in the box or back in the box, don't apply. It doesn't make any difference. What it really comes down to is a timing issue. You have to hold up, but that's not always easy to do because that goes against what you're always taught to do, what your instincts are. It's really tough, and that's why she was so tough yesterday, because it limits the adjustments you can make. But it's a timing issue, and you have to lay off, and you have to try to go opposite.
So kind of keep your hands back a little bit. And wait. Okay. And
but you see it right there.
Yes, a little quick. I guess we can now say as Katie Lopez gets good contact, but pulls it foul. 1 ball, 2 strikes the count. It'll be Lopez, Avila, and Cheyenne Newman. Bottom of the order due up.
Now, in my limited knowledge of strategy, not up on a parallel plane or back, but back to your back side. You move back in the box to the outside of the box.
Yeah. Well, that would make sense, trying to create a little
Right,
room to
right.
get your arms extended on the inside
But
pitch.
then she works the outside corner.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting back to what we talked about, that's the essence of pitching, the changing of the location, changing of speeds. Popped in the air on the left side. Hicks moving into foul territory, and she has it for out number 1. Well, let's see if the template holds true from what we've seen, and that is Narwhal maybe with a little bit of a shaky start, but then once you get the lead, she settles down. She's now set down 3 in a row after the very shaky start, and Avila will be the hitter.
Hey there, boys.
Hi,
Mike
Mike.
Cepeda joining us in the booth. Michael, you're everywhere here this weekend.
Yeah,
Up top here.
I had a chance to talk to the heads groundskeepers here today.
Oh, great. Yeah, we were talking a little bit about that.
Thank them for the work that they've done this weekend, the fabulous facility here
Absolutely.
at Bakersfield College.
Avila lays off the breaking ball. 1 ball and 1 strike. Boy, I have to really hold. Boy, talking about, keeping your hands back, waiting a little bit. I have to wait on these calls.
Yeah, you do.
I can't.
Everybody has to wait.
It's, timing issues are becoming a theme for the weekend. 1 ball, 2 strikes as Avila chops it foul.
No way. Narwhal induces another foul ball.
There were like 10 so far through 2 innings.
Toughest job in the park this weekend. Ball boy down the left field line when Narwhal.
Sure.
Well, I
is
disagree.
on the mound.
I disagree. I think the toughest job is that third base coach.
That's
Your
it.
life is in your hands.
And keep your head on a swivel out there. Narwhal goes back to the outside corner but misses. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Avila. Avila comes in batting .205. In limited duty, but she has seen more action as the season's gone on. Back in the meeting on January 30th, it was Avila who was backing up Caitlin Luffel behind the plate. Now she's at third base, so obviously one of those players that Coach Tim Kieran can plug in a few different spots.
Well, and you see the relationship between the 2 skilled positions of third base.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely, as you were alluding
catcher.
to before. Yep. So Avila digs in. 2-2 pitch coming from Narwhal.
What do you know?
Fouled off again. Well, I think if you're Narwhal, I think the other thing that's impressive about this situation is that's a pitch that takes a lot of focus to throw over and over again because she's not fanning these hitters with it. A lot of times they're able to fight it off. So if you're Narwhal, you have to be okay with that and keep working and not get frustrated by the fact that you're not retiring them on that pitch itself. But it's really a pitch where it takes a lot of dedication because she's really setting up something else that she wants to do.
Jeff, you talked about it yesterday about potentially setting up a foul ball shift.
Yeah. You wonder at some point. I mean, the only downside I really see to doing that, in all honesty, is that it's a dead giveaway for what pitch is coming. Cued toward the right side, Soika to her left. Retires Avila. 2 down, bases empty, and that'll bring up the center fielder, Cheyenne Newman.
Sonny Stupek at the Hall of Fame induction when he was getting inducted into the Hall of Fame as the longtime Shasta coach was talking about one of the other inductees, Kim Ward, and how they actually took the second baseman out of the lineup and had 4 outfielders.
Swinging bunt to Lanksberry, and Newman's going to be safe as Howe couldn't handle the low throw. Lanksberry got enough on there, but as Newman was racing toward the bag, Howe bobbles it momentarily. I would read that as an error on the first baseman.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Low throw.
Yeah.
But
yeah. She had it. The throw was there.
So the 2-out error gives Sacramento City new life. And that'll bring up the top of the order. And Butkoff looped towards short, but Carranza there. That'll do it for the second inning. No runs, no hits, 1 error, 1 left on base. We're through 2 complete. Santiago Canyon with the early lead. on Sac City here at the CCCAA Softball Championships. Olegi, Vigurtza, Langsbury due up, a trip through the heart of the order for Santiago Canyon, looking to extend on a 2-1 lead against Callie Sargent. First pitch to Olegi, laced up the middle for a base hit. Well, I'll tell you, getting back to the first inning, does anybody put any more no doubt on a base hit than Emily Olegi?
Well, and it was interesting to see Sargent throwing that one right over the heart of the plate, not a typical rise ball.
Yeah, I think she's maybe trying to sneak one past there, get ahead in the count. And Olegi went up there hacking. And
you think about how last inning ended for the Hawks with the bases loaded, Olegi on deck.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's, if you're going to face a hitter like that, bases empty starting an inning, that's maybe bases empty 2 outs in an inning is even better, but either way, you don't want runners on base. And that made that a big moment in the game, but Santiago Canyon off to a good start, and Olegi going to make it to second base as Luffel loses her footing on the wild pitch by Sargent. It looked for a moment like Luffel might have a play, but as she went to throw, lost her footing, and Olegi makes it to second.
I saw a couple places that tournament director Sandy Taylor was putting Turfus or whatever the particular substance was. That was one of them. The one in right field, and they were one over in foul territory in right field as well. And it was really wet this morning, and it actually.
Well, in my experience, is sometimes right where the dirt meets the grass, which is right near where Luffel was, there can sometimes be traction issues there as well. And that might have been as well where Luffel was, although they are looking at a spot on the turf there, and they are going to clean it up a little bit. And I think Luffel might have dug some ground up there with the cleats. Either way, Olegi at second. So Santiago Canyon in position again with a runner on base, nobody out. Vigurtza at the plate with a 1-ball and no strike count.
Is it a wild pitch or a pass ball? I didn't see either.
Like a wild pitch.
Wild pitch, we'll put wild pitch on there. What does Proctor Silex think? He'd tell us, but he doesn't have a mic. So it's open for interpretation on our end.
Thank you, Coach Hill.
So in our experience in covering baseball, have we seen a Game 7 yet, Michael? I'm looking over in your direction. I don't think. Well, we did the first year we went, but
first year we went.
Very often it seems that the team from the winner's bracket comes in on a roll, and certainly Sacramento City comes in playing very well, but this is as live of a team out of the loser's bracket as I can feel like I've seen in quite a while.
Yeah, especially when you have your ace in the hole who hasn't even pitched this weekend for a potential Game 7.
Yeah, absolutely. Although
and Callie Sargent has been taxed throughout the weekend.
Narwhal went 4 in Games 4 and 5, comes right back this morning, and I have to think that if we see a Game 7 here, I think it's going to be Narwhal again.
Yeah.
Well, it could be a hitting matchup in terms of, most of these hitters just can't hit or have any effect on that inside pitch that Narwhal really utilizes in her arsenal.
Until there's an adjustment. Why make a change? Vigurtza, meanwhile, 1 for 1.
What's the adage? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly right. Single back in the second, came around to score the first run of the game for Santiago Canyon. That fastball high, and Sargent starting to work it up in the zone more now, but so far, the hitter's laying off.
3 straight pitches, Jeff, up high.
And she is down in the count now to Vigurtza. The infield back a few steps. Now they start to cheat in as Vigurtza shows bunt and takes a strike.
She's taken all the way. And what that does is that brings the infield in when you square around the bunt. If the ball gets behind, there's nobody covering at the corners.
Sargent's pitch outside. So Vigurtza works the walk. First and second. Lanksberry coming to the plate. And this can't be a welcome sight if you're Sacramento City. Going back to the matchup on January 30th, Lanksberry was 1 for 2 with a run batted in.
And you know, it's interesting that Olegi stays running at second base. This is a situation with nobody down where you might want a pinch run. But, you know, strong athlete. I don't know how many stolen bases she has, what kind of speed she has out there, but a heady player.
Yeah, Olegi was, I want to make sure I'm right on that. Okay, no, Olegi was retired back in the first inning. I was going to say I thought she was the runner on base on the fielder's choice for Sargent, but I have the wrong inning. 1 ball, no strikes to count on Lanksberry. Off-speed pitch is low. Olegi had a notion for third base, but elects to stay.
Hey, you got to give us a break here. We had a long day yesterday.
Who did?
What?
I mean, today. Earlier today, we had a long day.
I don't think Matt slept since Friday.
He hasn't
I think
slept
he's
since Tuesday.
I think he's just been here in the press box.
That's normal. That's normal.
The whole time. It's a labor of love. 2 balls, no strikes. Pitch from Sargent in there for a strike. Well, we've been talking about it for a while, and let's get to it. Lanksberry on the weekend. Successful sacrifice earlier in the game, but she's 7 for 10.
That's 700.
This is a numbers guy.
Math guy.
7 runs.
You're a numbers guy, ain't you?
7 runs batted in. On the weekend, that one ripped into the dugout, but foul.
Lanksberry's just locked in here.
Count evened up, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Sargent had to get out of a major jam in the second inning just to limit Santiago Canyon to 2 runs. And now here in the third, she's put 2 runners on, still nobody out. So the struggles continue. And you ask yourself, how many times can Callie Sargent wriggle out of jams? The 2-2. High fastball.
You know, they've seen her so much that they are laying off her strength, which is trying to get somebody to swing at those high pitches.
Yeah, and you
Santiago Canyon,
to your point, going back to the meeting on January 30th, she had 5 walks in 4 innings, did Callie Sargent. High pop, first base side, and it's Butkoff who calls off Ortiz for the out.
Lanksberry doesn't reach. That's news.
Alyssa Soika had an RBI single back in the second. She comes up here.
Second baseman, Alyssa Soitka.
Trivia time coming up
Ooh.
in just a little bit.
Soika came in batting .397 and had a base hit earlier.
Drove in the first run.
So she creeps up to 400. In there for a strike. I just want to let you guys know that I only came up with 1 trouble with the curve question. I know you'll be disappointed to hear that.
I watched that movie when I got home. When I got home at 1 o'clock last night,
Prepare yourself for
I watched that movie till 3 a.m.
barrage of trouble with the curve questions.
He got home at 1 o'clock and was asleep at 1:15.
Actually, I wasn't.
As long as
You know, it's so hard for me to get back to a hotel room after a day like that
Yeah,
and just
absolutely.
go to sleep. I have to like unwind, and fortunately there was college softball on.
well, you hadn't seen any of that during
I
the day,
hadn't
so
seen
you know
any of
you
that.
you'd been missing it.
Thank goodness for ESPNU.
Here's the pitch to Soika, and that gets her on the upper arm. So that'll load the bases with 1 out and bring up Ashley Clark.
That'll bring up Proctor Silex with the trivia.
And today's trivia is in 8 men out, 2 pitchers are among the 8 players trying to throw the series. Can you name them? Email your answers to SoCalCollegeSports@hotmail.com. And the winner of today's game, I believe, will still get a free digital copy of today's game. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Fantastic. So be sure to email your answers to SoCalCollegeSports@hotmail.com.
By the way, that was my favorite question.
That's a good one. You know,
Matt, can you answer it? Not now, but can you?
Of course. Let me get my phone.
Well, don't kid yourself. That's how the answer is coming.
I see.
And the person who answers it first via email will indeed receive a free digital download of today's game.
You know, PA announcer Sheree Shoemake just asked an interesting question, or a rhetorical question. Have we set a record for hit batters in this tournament? We have seen a number of hit batters. I hope Andrew Wheeler's on that Sheree question.
No balls and 1 strike to count on Clark. She reached on an error in the 2nd inning. Here's the pitch from Sargent. The runners start to break, and Luffel bluffs a throw toward 3rd.
That was a bluff.
Is that like the classic bluff move where the pitcher goes to 3rd base and then turns back to 1st? That's never worked in the history.
Never worked in the history.
In the long and storied history of baseball?
Or softball. 2 sports.
That's an impressive record.
Bases loaded jam 2 innings in a row.
Clark with the running swing fouls it away. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Clark came in batting .415.
Well, the heat has seemed to be an issue for Callie Sargent throughout the weekend. She was touched up earlier yesterday in the early game. The late game is the one that she shined in on Friday.
At night.
So
you begin to wonder if the heat, a bit of a factor.
Yeah, the heat from the sun and the heat from the Santiago Canyon lineup. And I think the duo.
Both not working in her favor.
Yeah, the duo giving Callie Sargent some trouble. 2 balls, 1 strike on Ashley Clark. Bases loaded. Still only 1 out. Here's the pitch. Clark offers. Strike 2. That's just great location from Callie Sargent. She's working that outside corner. Let's check that. Ashley Clark down on strikes. Apologies, had the wrong count. So that'll bring up Brittany Howe. And this is shades of last inning when they got Jordan Hicks on the batter interference. Sargent had the bases loaded with only 1 out, was able to wriggle out of that jam with no more damage. And you have to wonder here, does the momentum swing back if Sargent can make it 2 innings in a row where she gets out of a major jam? First pitch to Howe, in there for a strike.
Olegi has had some success swinging at that first pitch. Sargent trying to really settle in. I've seen a lot of first pitch fastballs right down the pipe. I'd like to see SCC, Santiago Canyon College that is, pick up on that.
Here's the 0-1 to Howe. Tailing fastball just inside. Brittany Howe was intentionally walked back in the 2nd.
And we know how.
A .271 hitter on the season, 2 home runs.
This is a big at-bat for both teams. Again, we've said that 2 innings in a row.
There's been some ebb and flow early on. Off-speed pitch, catches the outside corner. Now Sargent 1 strike away from maybe getting out of this.
You know, that's one of those things you get so used to at being disciplined on that off-speed stuff that you don't swing at it, even though it's tantalizing to look at that. But
yeah, if Callie Sargent could start to locate off-speed stuff for strikes, there it is.
Breaking ball high.
Didn't break enough.
And there's discipline right there. There are a lot of batters in this sport that would have swung at that pitch with 2 strikes.
Evens up the count at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Sargent up on the rubber. Here's the pitch. Tries the tailing fastball. The crowd wanted it. Didn't get it. Count goes full on Brittany Howe.
Can I correct you on that? Half the crowd wanted it.
Yeah, some of the crowd.
Yeah, SEC's traveled well.
Yeah, they do.
Santiago, that is.
Howe does have 12 walks versus just 10 strikeouts, so she shows a pretty good eye. Here's the payoff pitch from Sargent. Howe takes that one low. So Brittany Howe works the bases loaded walk. Olegi comes home with the first run of the inning, and it's now 3-1. And here comes Krista Carranza, who delivered a base hit and an RBI back in the second. She's got an opportunity to really break this one open.
And I love how you get an RBI for that. You know, Howe just has a good eye, chalk up another RBI.
That's how they score it in fantasy anyway. Remember next year? Fantasy softball when we come up to the championships? Probably not, but you know, we like to make light of the fantasy aspect.
Well,
we'll figure it out.
Sports, really.
I mean, it's just gonna be hard to schedule an in-person draft. That's so we gotta.
Yeah, we're gonna have to probably do it online.
No, the
live
4
drafts.
teams.
We can add that to the banquet Thursday night. Have the draft.
They're gonna take out Callie Sargent, so we'll see Justin Bebout. We'll come back in a moment, give you the news on the new pitcher for Sacramento City. You're watching the CCCAA Softball Championships here on SoCalCollegeSports.com. So the new pitcher, Justin Bebout, comes on, makes her second appearance of the weekend, and her 15th appearance overall, with a record of 5-2 and an ERA and 1.98. And Callie Sargent leaves early for the second time in a row. Doesn't mean that we've seen the last of her, but she'll head over to the bullpen now.
Well, and that's what she did yesterday. She came out in the second yesterday, third today, but she spent almost every inning over in the bullpen working on that rise ball to perfect it. When she came back in, she was sharp at the end of the game, and I would not be surprised if you see Sargent over there in the bullpen to be ready for Tim Kiernan later in the game.
Meanwhile, designated pinch hitter Christine Woodling makes another appearance. This is her fourth pinch hitting appearance in 4 games now, so she gets the call over Krista Carranza, and of course Carranza will, in all likelihood, re-enter the game and remain in the game as the shortstop. So they just go to Woodling's bat here with the bases loaded and 2 down, 1 ball and 1 strike. And well, how do you like the life of a pinch hitter? You just come on in the biggest game of the year, bases loaded with 2 outs, and all right, come in here and swing the bat. 2 balls and 1 strike. Can't be an easy job.
And oftentimes you'll see a younger player, a freshman in this situation, and it certainly prepares them for the next year when they're getting starting playing time or more playing time in pressure situations. It's a win-win.
Bebout into the wind, and Woodling fouls it back. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Bebout came in yesterday in the Game 3 victory over San Mateo and went 4 2/3 scoreless, holding San Mateo, who had taken the early lead, and setting the stage for the dramatic comeback and the eventual extra inning victory. So she's having an outstanding championship series so far. Woodling fouls that one away as Bebout continues to work the inside corner. Well, maybe they're getting something from Riley Narwald. So, hey, that pitch is looking pretty good.
That inside pitch seems to be working.
Yeah. Maybe we can go to that.
It's just interesting how pitchers have different ways of being effective. Narwald with that inside pitch, Sargent with that high stuff.
Swing and a miss, and Woodling down on strikes to end the 3rd inning. Santiago Canyon comes up with 1 run on 1 hit, no errors, 3 more left on base. We head to the bottom of the 3rd. 3-1, Santiago Canyon on top of Sac City here from Bakersfield. Heading to the bottom of the third. Santiago Canyon with 3 unanswered. And they have the 3-1 lead. And Sacramento City, they end up putting up 7 on the board in the victory in Game 3 yesterday. But you don't have the sense that this is a particularly potent offense. And so the stakes begin to rise. They really can't afford to let the Santiago Canyon team kind of go away and hide.
Well, you look at the 2-0 opening day win against Cyprus. They just did not put up they put up just enough offense and then relied on Callie Sargent to do her thing. 2
wins by a combined 3 runs. Be Katie Gravel, Gabby Ortiz, and Caitlin Luffel. Here in the bottom of the third with Riley Narwhal back in the circle. Here's the first pitch. On the outside corner, a good pitch to Gravel.
The gritty Katie Gravel.
Right fielder. Comes in batting .294 on the season. No home runs, 5 runs batted in. Langsbury starts to cheat in at third. Running swing sends it foul. No balls, 2 strikes. And you'd think against that tailing pitch, the left-hander Gravel might be able to slap one over on that left side.
Yeah.
But so far in her at-bats, she's actually been a little bit late on it still.
Well, the shift is on for the defense.
This one deep in the hole, cut off by Carranza. The long throw, not in time. Gravel, the speedster, able to leg it out.
Pretty good wheels.
And the shift was on for the defense, hit right to the shortstop who had moved into position, but Gravel, all kinds of speed, gets over there.
Yeah, Carranza, it's good news, bad news. She gets to the ball very quickly, but the bad news is she's still deep in the hole. So it was a long throw, and that's no doubt what Gravel and company were counting on. And she was able to leg it out, beat it by just a fraction of a step.
Was that a Flintstones reference? Gravel and company?
Yeah, I really feel like it's they're missing a clarion voice on a show that's been off the air for a long time.
Weren't you talking about Mr. Slade anyway?
Yeah, for some reason I've had Flintstones on the brain here on this weekend. I don't know what's bringing it on. Missing the days of my misspent youth. Very, very youth.
My favorite situation comedy of all time.
And that's prime time comedy there going back to the day. Ortiz launches one to center.
Bye.
Daniel looks up and it's gone. Well, you can't afford to let them run away and hide, but I guess they were still in plain sight because Ortiz just tied it up.
Second home run on the weekend for Ortiz, and she absolutely crushes that to dead center.
And there's another equalizer, gentlemen.
Proctor weighs in. So Ortiz now with 2, as Mike just pointed out, and Olegui with 2, and that's been the power display here this weekend. But all 4 balls, absolute rockets, and it seems one hit harder than the next because I think it was the second home run by Olegui that was a real cannon shot, and then that was a no-doubter to straightaway center.
One thing I did want to touch on, I don't know what the exact stats are, but I feel that left-handed hitters have had a lot more success versus Narwhal versus the righties. The righties handcuffed by that inside pitch. You see it again right
absolutely.
there.
I don't think there's any question. That's a great point, Mike. And yeah, I mean, it's a vision thing, and I think the tailing action, obviously, you got a better chance of getting your arms extended when that ball's working away from you, especially if you move up on the plate, and I think that's what Ortiz did very well there.
Yeah, and you got 3 lefties, by my count, in the lineup here.
Well, I know there's Gravel and Ortiz.
Cheyenne Newman as well.
And Newman, okay. Yeah, I thought I didn't see the third one there, but indeed, it's the lefties that key it. A looper into left center, a base hit. So Luffel makes it 3 straight hits, and all of a sudden, Narwhal, who'd been cruising, begins to struggle again in a tie ball game.
And here comes Morgan Welch, and Welch leading this team coming in home runs. I want to say that Ortiz had 3 coming in. She now has 5, is that right? On the season?
And Welch has 6. I'll tell you, Gabby Ortiz, that does not look like a 3 home run on the season swing.
No, it does not.
I don't know where they play. If they play in
the Big 8.
Yeah, if they play in an Astrodome replica in Sacramento or something, but the way she just hit that ball, I'm stunned at only having 3 home runs on the season.
Yeah, you're gonna have to lie down for a little bit.
Really, I need to. That ball misses outside, a snap throw down, but Luffel back.
After yesterday, I wouldn't blame you.
It's true. Can we just call these games from like 3 cots up here? One more. But make it 4.
Well,
Matt can do the technical direction from a cot as well.
We can get my dad a hammock up top.
Foul back to the screen by Welch. 2 balls, 1 strike.
well, based on the way this game is going, 3-3 in the third. Could be another long day today. That's kind of what we're looking forward to. Nothing like a 7th game.
Yeah, you got a beautiful day. Beautiful day for softball. Well, if you're looking for good news for Santiago Canyon, it's that Ortiz and Luffel have finished their at-bats. They're a combined 4 for 4 today against Narwhal, and they've delivered 4 of the 5 hits for Sacramento City. So now Narwhal starts to work to that portion of the lineup that she's handled much more easily. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Welch. Standing in from the right side. Here's the pitch from Narwhal. Breaking ball, and Welch way out in front. Narwhal pulls the string. Fans Welch for the first out of the 3rd inning.
First time we've seen that pitch all game.
Well, the way she works that tailing fastball inside, yeah, it's going to be pretty hard to get ready for that. Sargent grounded to short to end the 1st. Swings at the first pitch.
Sargent in as the DP, even though she is not in the game in the circle any longer.
I think we know where she is. I think she's in the bullpen working on the high fastball. We'll probably see her again. No balls, 1 strike.
Sargent also with 3 home runs coming in?
Check that in a moment.
Could be 4.
Could be 5.
On the inside corner. So she's quickly down in the count, no balls and 2 strikes. And Sargent has 4 home runs, 38 runs batted in. Coming in, batting .331, coming into action today. Here's the 0-2, tries the outside pitch, and it's too far outside. Boy, just when you think the Sacramento City team, you wonder, are they going to have an answer? And that seems to be exactly when they deliver an answer.
Well, Coach Kiernan talked to me before the game about the heart and character of this team.
Soft liner, playable for Daniel. Sargent with a little too much air under that one, so 2 down as Luffel retreats to first.
You know, those intangibles in games like this, in tournaments like this, are really, I think, often underestimated or overlooked. Having character, team chemistry, having heart, never say die, those kind of things, while they're cliches, they really are appropriate.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that we've noticed as we've covered these events is, boy, there's an awful lot of ebb and flow to these events, and games seem like they're over, and then you see improbable comebacks, crazy types of things happen. Here's a line drive toward left center, diving attempt by Hicks. She can't come up with it. Now Daniel has to recover back near the track. Luffel's rounding 3rd, and she's going to come home and score. Well, that was almost highlight reel action for Jordan Hicks.
Yeah, that was almost going on ESPN highlights for tonight.
It turns out, as an RBI double for Katie Lopez, it's a 3-run 3rd inning, and the Panthers are back out in front.
You talk about that ebb and flow. You know, we're sitting here talking about Santiago Canyon kind of cruising in cruise control. And
it's a few minutes ago, and it seems like it's all going for Santiago Canyon, and then here's a big answer. And you get the sense that there's more to come here on both sides before it's all over. But it gets to your point about those teams that have that kind of cohesion, that kind of belief in themselves, that kind of close-knit type of dynamic to their team, that they stay in these games and continue to believe. And we've seen it over and over again that crazy things seem to happen.
Yeah, they were on cruise control, speeding in the fast lane, and then they were pulled over by Gabby Ortiz.
Officer Ortiz. 1 ball and no strikes on Gabby Avila. She grounded to second, back into second.
Not that we condone speeding in any way.
No, we would never do that kind of thing.
We're just saying, hypothetical here.
Well, we both drive a Prius, so.
You do?
Yeah, it's not.
How do you fit in a Prius, Mike?
Well, for those who don't know, I'm 6'10".
Yeah. And it's
6'10", 300. I'm not a light boy.
Hold on to your hat. It's not the smallest car he's ever owned.
No, it's not. Hey, I used to drive a Yaris.
Yes.
A what?
A Yaris.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Toyota knows how to engineer them.
Breaking ball from Narwhal misses inside. And the count now 2 balls and 2 strikes on Avila.
Hey, I'm a simple man.
I've heard that song.
Hey, listen, we appreciate some good gas mileage. I don't think we're alone on that.
Well, you're in Southern California. You have to appreciate good gas mileage.
Yes, it's so true. High and tight to Avila, and the count goes full. Ortiz with a 2-run homer. Katie Lopez with an RBI double, and it's a big answer for the Panthers here in the third.
A Panther answer. No.
Panther answer?
Panther answer.
I got it. You know what that is? Right there. That's not
hitter.
Not consonants. That's assonance.
It's getting away from Narwhal here.
Hit by pitch.
Wheels falling off here.
Hey, I paid attention in English class. So Avila hit by the pitch, and it's runners at first and second. Still 2 outs, and Cheyenne Newman coming to the plate.
We talked about the effectiveness of lefties versus Narwhal here.
Here comes Lisa Camargo.
And we have not, I don't remember, yes, we did see
Samantha Dean.
Very briefly. Are they going to go to Samantha Dean?
Different team.
Yeah, okay. That's on San Mateo.
I'm sorry.
It's Lauren Hammond that we saw very briefly back on Friday afternoon in Game 1. But otherwise, it's been Riley Narwhal.
The blue fooled me.
Throughout. So might we see Coach Lisa Camargo going? She's going out there and then left Narwhal in, and that appears to be what she's going to do here. So they have complete faith in Riley Narwhal, and it's a very slow hook for Riley Narwhal, obviously out there, and they're going to stay with her to work to Cheyenne Newman.
No action in either bullpen.
And it's obviously it's the blueprint that they've gone with for this particular event because, as we talked about, Shannon Thornton and Lauren Hammond both had very solid seasons in the circle for Santiago Canyon, but obviously Narwhal is the choice, and that's who they're sticking with, and that one is foul. Langsbury fielding that one with the right foot in foul territory, so no balls, 1 strike. The count on Cheyenne Newman, who reached on an error back in the second. Newman, the 8th batter of the inning for Sacramento City. 4 hits and a hit batsman in the inning off of Riley Narwhal. The 0-1. High pop on the infield. This will do it. Soika puts it away to finally retire the side, but not before a lot of damage. 3 runs on 4 hits, no errors. 2 left on base. We're through 3 complete. Shaping up to be a classic championship Sunday, 4-3, Sac City on SoCalCollegeSports.com.
Remember, everybody, you don't have to be in front of a computer to watch the game live. Download the Ustream app for your tablet, PC, or smartphone device and search SoCal College Sports, one word. You can also input our web address into your mobile web browser, www.SoCalCollegeSports.com. Catch us on the go here at SoCal College Sports in the softball championships, and also feel free to tweet at us at SoCal College SPO and email us with trivia questions or critiques, or just want to say hi, SoCalCollegeSports@hotmail.com. We're eager to hear from you.
Hi.
Yeah, we should have, we've already heard from you.
Well, speaking of hearing from somebody, shout out to Oscar Ledesma, saying huge shout out to the SEC Lady Hawks. So the Hawks well represented, not only online, but live here today on the campus of Bakersfield College.
Going to be at the top of the order, due up with Jordan Hicks, Jessica Daniel, and Emily Olegi. And how do you like it if you're Justin Beamout? You come in here, relieve Sargent, get out of the jam, 3 on the board, and now it'll be Beamout trying to bring it home. And by it, I mean a state championship. Fastball taken by Hicks. They will appeal down, but no swing, so 1 ball and no strikes. Hicks is 0 for 2, lined to third, and was retired on batter's interference on a bunt attempt back in the 2nd inning.
You know, every Santiago Canyon batter has seen Callie Sargent this is their first look at Justin Bebout. Some adjustments are going to be in order. You might see some pitches taken while they get used to the differences in the two pitchers.
Yes, Bebout has worked to exactly one batter this season for Santiago Canyon. It was Sargent, even in a struggle in the first meeting between these two teams, that went the entire route. Tailing fastball away. Hicks way out in front. 3 balls and no strikes.
Hawks want base runners. That's their modus operandi.
Well, especially with the daily double at the top here with Hicks and Daniel. Get on in front of Olegi. Showed bunt, takes that one for a strike. 3 balls, 1 strike on Hicks. Here's the pitch. Line drive, base hit. Hicks aboard to start the 4th inning. And for Hicks, that's her first base hit of the weekend. So she gets off the schneid.
What is the schneid? Is that an actual thing?
It's evidently where you don't want to be at the plate.
I think somebody should make a schneid.
I don't know exactly what it is, but I know you don't want to be on it.
You could probably sell a bunch of them.
I could say that for you. Yeah, I could say that much about it. So Hicks at first with outstanding speed, and Daniel digs in from the left side.
I used to know a guy named the Schneid.
I don't know if I
high
want to
and
know
outside.
anymore.
Yeah,
His name was Todd Snyder, called the Schneid.
the one guy who might have been all right being on the schneid then, I guess.
He was a good guy. Good basketball player. Good football player.
The corners cheat in on Daniel. 1 ball and no strikes. Here's the pitch from Bebout. Bunted out in front of home plate. The only play is to first. Good throw from Luffel to just retire Daniel. Well, we sometimes speculate about relative speed, and I got to tell you, Jessica Daniel probably the fastest player this weekend on any team.
Yeah,
that was a bunt out in front fielded by Luffel, and she got her by about a 1/4 step.
Because that was right in front of the plate.
Yeah.
Luffel didn't have to move too much.
This wasn't halfway out to the circle.
Do your relatives have speed? None of mine did.
You know what? I'm actually from a reasonably quick family.
Because you talk about relative speed.
I didn't really get much of it myself, but
no,
it's
neither.
there. It's there in the blood. They're going to walk Olegi, put runners at first and second with 1 down, and take their chances with Vigurtza.
I could sprint okay in my youth. I wasn't very good.
Not a
long distance,
not a
no.
distance runner.
No.
Hey, you're a basketball guy. What do you need long distance for?
Well, it would have been nice to have both.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, as long as you can sprint 94 feet, isn't that everything? Isn't that the end of it?
The old 30 at 30. 30 in 30. Do you know what that means?
30 laps, 30 times back and forth, and, well, it's not 30 minutes.
30 suicides in 30 minutes.
Piece of cake.
That does not sound like.
I could do that right now.
That doesn't sound like a lot of fun. Not for a guy who grew up playing golf.
There was a funny story. We were coming back from College of the Canyons. Grand Canyon University in Arizona on a plane ride. And we were punished for messing around on the flight.
Who's we?
The entire team.
What team?
I won't go into that.
Oh, okay, all right.
But
college team.
A college team, and we were coming back, and stewardess let the flight attendant. Sorry,
yes.
Flight attendant.
You are so politically incorrect.
I try to be as PC as possible. Anyway, the stewardess relayed to the coach that some spitballs had been flying around on the flight. So we get to the locker room after we get to the after we get to the sports complex over there. Hey guys, be ready to go at 5 a.m. tomorrow. What for? We usually practice at 2 p.m.
Yeah.
30 in 30. And oh yes, we did have practice later on that day as well.
Did you learn your lesson?
No.
See, that always sounded like the fun part of coaching to me.
Yeah.
No balls and 1 strike.
You learned
on Vigurtza.
The lesson is don't do spitballs on airplanes.
Yeah, just be like the 86 Mets and completely destroy the plane. Nah, they didn't get in any trouble. 1 ball and 1 strike. I guess it helps when you're winning 108 games.
I was going to say, yeah, winning keeps you from getting in trouble.
Well, hey, I believe we won that game. We
No,
didn't
that-
have a
that
very good
should've-
we didn't have a very good season.
There is the lesson. That should have gotten you out of it completely. You know, so this is America. You won the game.
Do what you want to do.
1 ball, 1 strike. On by Garza, who's perfect on the day. 1 for 1, a single. She also walked in the third, has a run scored. Hicks at second, Olegi at first. Bebout has the sign. Here's the pitch. Ground ball through for a base hit. Hicks rounding third. She'll score standing up, and we're back to a tie game. Well, you pick your poison. They walk Olegi. Then Vigurza makes him pay with an RBI single. Still runners at first and second. 1 down. And here comes Caitlin Langsbury.
Right, Gertz at 2 for 2 with an RBI.
Yeah. Big day at the plate, and it seems like it's been somebody different each time, especially of late.
Well, it's been Langsbury up to today, and now Vigurza seems to have taken the bat.
Swings at the first pitch, just foul. Yeah, Olegi's had a couple of home runs, and now we get Vigurza today, and Daniel keying the offense, and Soika, boy, it just goes on and on. Meanwhile, it's Sacramento City that's closing in on a championship here in a tie game. They need to win just 1 of 2 today. The 0-1 to Langsbury. Back to the screen.
Got some action in the Santiago Canyon bullpen all of a sudden. Don't have my binoculars.
26.
That's Hammond.
Okay, yeah. Lauren Hammond, who we saw briefly on Friday. And is this, I mean, this could be a little bit of also nod toward the potential for a Game 7. Langsbury hit by the pitch. Loads them back up. But a thought about maybe resting Narwhal a little bit in the hopes, while she's struggling here a little bit as well, give her a break with an eye toward hopefully bringing her back in a what-if game.
If she remains effective, you throw everything you can to win this game, obviously, to move on to the 7th game. So
right.
If she stays effective, she's not coming out, although she wasn't effective last inning.
Yeah, she had been cruising into the third, but got in some trouble there. First pitch high to Soika, who's also perfect on the day. A single and been hit by a pitch. Run scored, run batted in. And a big opportunity here for Santiago Canyon to surge back in front in a back-and-forth game here in Game 6. High, towering fly ball, right center. Gravel makes the catch, but it's plenty deep to bring home Olegi. So Soika with her second RBI. And just a quick correction to keep things tidy here. It was Narwhal who had pinch run for Olegi, so technically Narwhal scores the go-ahead run. And it'll bring up Ashley Clark. Meanwhile, on the play, Vigurza alertly tagged to third. So she's at third base with a potential Bob McCloskey run. It's a little too early to talk about insurance, so I think in a back-and-forth game.
You got to get at least to inning number 5. That's the Bob McCloskey inning.
Let's make that the rule.
Not only does he have insurance run sponsorship, he has inning number 5 sponsorship, because you can't have insurance runs until you get to inning number 5.
First and third with 2 down. Ashley Clark at the plate. 0 for 2 on the day. Reached on an error and struck out. Showed bunt. So Bebout down 2 balls and no strikes to Clark.
That was real close to being a real offering on that bunt.
Each team has already led twice. Big swing and a miss by Clark in this game. It's been back and forth. Started out with a single run for Sacramento City. Santiago Canyon answered with a couple of runs and then added a single run to go up 3-1. Entering the bottom of the third. But 3 runs from Sacramento City gave them a 4-3 lead, and just a half inning later here in the top of the 4th, 2 more, and it's 5-4. Big swing from Clark. The count evened up, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Brittany Howe would be next. So for Bebout, those are the first runs that she's allowed on the weekend. Justin has the sign. Here's the pitch. High and tight. Clark just gets out of the way. It's a full count.
Reminiscent of a Callie Sargent pitch right there. Well, I keep thinking I'm going to see down in the dugout or down in the bullpen for Sacramento City College, working on that rise ball.
And the sense maybe that both teams, yes, I think you're exactly right. You want to try and win the game at hand. Clark just stays alive, but also there's a little bit of a balance, I think, where you think about where you want to go, thinking ahead, and particularly if you're Sacramento City, who, in the worst case scenario, is, going to go to Game 7.
Right. I think that plays into Sacramento City's hands much more than San Diego Canyon's hands.
Full count on Clark. Line drive, base hit. Another run coming in as Vigurtza scores. Clark, a 2-out RBI single.
And that was a great at-bat for Clark. She just worked the count, then got the pitch she wanted, went opposite field, lifted it over the shortstop's head into left field. And that's a 2-run cushion now for the Hawks.
And after a couple of opportunities that went by the wayside, that's a 2-out RBI hit. The first one today for Santiago Canyon, and it's a big one. Puts them back out in front 6-4 and brings up Brittany Howe. No official at bat. She's walked twice. Breaking ball inside. One ball and no strikes on Howe. Howe did a tremendous job working a walk her last time up in the 3rd inning. That bases loaded walk brought home a run. Beauty of a pitch, takes something off, and it's in there for a strike.
So I think, Jeff, now that the Hawks have a 2-run lead, you got action down in the bullpen, are they going to put Hammond in to change up the look of the pitches?
Yeah. Well, and you go back to it, but obviously with the heavy innings and pitches, that one's fouled away on the right side, that Narwhal went yesterday, is it something, obviously Coach Lisa Camargo has made it very clear by her actions that she has all the faith in the world in Riley Narwhal, and that's who she wants to go with. But at a certain point, would they be better served?
Right.
Giving her a little bit of a rest and taking their chances with hopefully getting to a what-if game for them and going from there. More off-speed stuff from Bebout, and it's a little high. 2 balls and 1 strike on Brittany Howe. Howe, the 8th batter to bat in the inning. And after a 1-2-3 top of the 1st inning, Santiago Canyon has really been all over these Sac City pitchers. That one fouled away on the right side. Howe had a good cut, but she was a little late.
Sargent is now up in the pen.
Langsbury at second, Clark at first. Here's the pitch. One hopper towards short, it's through. They will wave Langsbury around. She will score without a play, and it's 7-4. Brittany Howe's having a big day at the plate now. Couple of runs batted in. Here comes Krista Carranza as Santiago Canyon has batted around here in the 4th, and they've pushed the lead out to 3. That's their largest today at 7-4. Quite an answer after a 3-run 3rd inning for Sacramento City.
And the Hawks just making contact and moving those speedy runners around the bases.
Carranza singled back in the 2nd. She has a run batted in. So Clark at 2nd. Howe at 1st. Pop fly, shallow left, played by Morgan Welch to end the inning. but not before. A 4-run answer for Santiago Canyon on 4 hits, no errors, 2 left on base. We head to the bottom of the 4th. Hawks back on top, 7-4. It's the CCCAA Softball Championships here on SoCalCollegeSports.com. Bottom of the 4th inning from the Dean and Ada Gay Sports Complex here at Bakersfield College, host of the 2016 CCCAA Softball Championships here on SoCalCollegeSports.com. And really done a wonderful job putting together a great event and certainly made us feel very welcome. And we are thankful for that. Top of the order coming up for Sacramento City, Madison Butkoff, Katie Gravel, Gabby Ortiz. Riley Narwald continues in the circle for Santiago Canyon College. And I guess, Matt, it's safe to say we can't really consider that a surprise.
No.
Narwald
not now.
Continues to get the call.
And you're going to see her continue to work that inside corner relentlessly.
Yeah, now, for those that have been following the game so far, shapes up to be a potentially difficult inning. You got Butkoff, one of the leading hitters on the team, and then a couple of lefties, Gravel and Ortiz. And then Caitlin Luffel, who's had a couple of base hits as well. So a trip through a very dangerous part of the order for Narwhal.
A gauntlet of Panthers.
Well said. That fastball on the outside corner. 2 strikes and a ball on Madison Butkoff. 0 for 2. Here today, pop to first, line to short.
Tim Kiernan out talking to Madison Butkoff.
Butkoff had come into the championship round swinging a very hot bat, but she's cooled off here this weekend. She's 0 for 9 over the weekend after going 9 for 20 in regional and super regional play. So she helped carry this team to the championship round, and she's run into some tough pitching here.
So Panther fans are saying she's due.
Now one high and outside. So Butkoff, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Well, I'm always surprised here. We've seen some offense certainly here this weekend, but pitching wins championships. I think that's safe to say. So you got to expect you're going to cool off a little bit. Well, just as soon as I say that, that one laced to left center all the way to the wall. Butkoff's going to cruise into second with a leadoff double. Well, color me stunned. Here come the Panthers with an answer back after the 4-run top of the inning.
Was that sarcastic in any way?
I think the sarcasm was dripping off of that comment. Katie Gravel will be the batter. She's 1 for 2, singled and reached on an error, has a couple of runs scored.
So you can no longer say Madison Butkoff is due. She has answered that challenge.
Yeah, certainly, and that's a welcome sight for Sac City fans. Chopped toward third, but Lanksbury was in foul territory. No balls and 1 strike.
It's going to be another one of those epic games. Multi-inning battle.
Just get the feeling that both teams seem to have an answer for the other one whenever something comes up here. And well, it's interesting. It looks to me like Narwhal, especially of late here. You look at the last trip through the order, the last 9 hitters that she's faced. She's given up 5 hits and she's hit a batter. And so she has run into a tough patch here. But if you go back to this weekend, this is something that we've seen from Riley Narwhal is she'll struggle, and then seemingly pull it together and get back and start dominating again. So there's been a lot of that ebb and flow that we've talked about here.
Definitely started dominating more in the later innings.
Here's the pitch to Gravel. Playable for Langsbury. Over to first, and the runner Butkoff holds at second. Nice job by Caitlin Langsbury getting on that one very quickly.
I'm kind of surprised that Butkoff didn't make an attempt to go down to third, even though the shorts, Carranza was covering, because Narwhal was going to first all the way.
Yeah, and I think going back to that play that we saw earlier, she might have been considering it, but Langsbury has a very strong arm and I think got a lot on that throw, and there wasn't the same kind of time. But either way, didn't want to be taken down on the base pass with them down 3. So 1 down, the runner remains at second, and here comes Gabby Ortiz. She's had a big day at the plate and indeed a big weekend with a couple of home runs in the championship round. She's 2 for 2 today. And she had that bomb to straightaway center her last time up. And Narwhal, unsurprisingly, working the outside corner, working outside of the outside corner.
Well, we talked about it an inning or two ago that she's more effective with her style of pitching to right-handed batters than she is to left-handed batters.
Absolutely.
She's coming across the plate to be inside or be outside. Oftentimes you miss going outside to the lefty. That's right over the middle of the plate.
1 ball. Check that, 2 balls, 1 strike now on Ortiz. And it's a dicey situation. She obviously wants to be careful with Ortiz, but if she's too careful and she puts her on, now all of a sudden it's 2 on, 1 out. It's a 3-run lead, and you're bringing the tying run potentially to the plate. Tailing away, and it's outside. 3 balls, 1 strike now on Ortiz.
Narwhal being very careful not to give Ortiz anything to hit.
Ortiz now 4 for 9. On the weekend with a couple of home runs, 5 runs batted in. So she's having a tremendous championship round, and that one outside. Ortiz works the walk, but the news doesn't get a whole lot better if you're Santiago Canyon, because here comes Caitlin Luffel, and she's 2 for 2. Couple of base hits, run scored, run batted in.
I have to believe that was an intentional walk, even though the at-bat started with a strike.
Well, there's very little wind today, and we've had a little more wind on the first 2 days. And it's pretty calm, maybe a slight breeze coming in. But, it's a pretty decent hitter situation here midday, and, not a whole lot of wind. So being very careful with Ortiz. That one fouled back our way. Luffel wants that pitch back.
She can't have it.
Yeah. Not unless Riley gives it to her one more time. No balls, 1 strike. Morgan Welch waits on deck. Butkoff at second, Ortiz at first. Just outside. Interesting that you see it's sort of a different coaching philosophy in that Coach Camarco likes to pinch run for Emily Olegui, their power hitter in the middle of the lineup. But it doesn't appear that Tim Kiernan likes to take the line drive down the left field line, just foul. Doesn't elect to pinch run for his power hitter in the middle of the order, Gabby Ortiz, and as Ortiz remains on the base paths.
Yeah, that is interesting, especially when you're down 3 runs.
So Luffel with 2 strikes.
But he knows his players, and maybe there's something about Ortiz, speed and intelligence-wise out there.
Yeah.
I've said it before that base running is instinctive, and you have to be smart out there.
Yeah. Cold strike 3. Luffel down on strikes. That's a great answer for Narwhal. Yeah, it's exactly true. You see it over and over again. The great base running is not simply about great speed. And there is indeed more to it. And either way, runners remain at first and second with 2 down. And Morgan Welch will be the batter. She's 0 for 2. Grounded into a fielder's choice and struck out.
Could there also be an issue, Matt, with the availability maybe?
One hopper
of Callie
to Carranza.
Sargent coming back in. Sorry there, Jeffrey.
So Carranza goes the short way to finish off the inning, and we will continue the discussion when we return. We're through 4 complete. 7-4, Santiago Canyon trying to force a what-if game in the softball championships here on SoCalCollegeSports.com. Top of the 5th inning from Bakersfield College, the CCCAA softball championships here on SoCalCollegeSports.com. Jeff Stoynoff, Matt Folsom, Mike Cepeda, Matt Henson here with you. Championship Sunday here from the Dean and Ada Gay Sports Complex, and Santiago Canyon trying to stay alive and make it 3 wins in a row, force a what-if game. And they're on their way. They lead at 7-4 as they bat here in the top of the 5th. Jordan Hicks leading it off once again. At the top of the order, she singled and scored last inning.
Folsom, we go to the question that I tried to ask before the end of that inning. As far as the pinch running situation goes, how does that work? Is there a reason why you wouldn't bring in a pinch runner?
If that batter who's now a runner on base has been substituted for one other time, you would not substitute for her again, or she has to come out. You can do that one time.
Gotcha.
Playable for Lopez. Hicks retired.
Essentially, anyone on the field at any time can be substituted and then still go back in, but you can only do that once. Okay. That's why Callie Sargent came in yesterday after sitting, for 5 innings or whatever it was.
Maybe keeping that substitution in their back pocket, I guess, in that situation.
And coaches have to be very careful to re-enter those players.
Right.
If that's not made known and the other coach talks about it, that can
Daniel with the bunt in front of the mound. It's Avila who goes to first, not in time. The speed of Daniel telling again as she has a bunt single.
So just to finish that point, if the coach doesn't re-enter and the other coach calls him or her on it, that player cannot return.
Gotcha.
Which can be crucial. It doesn't happen very often, but you accidentally forget to re-enter Callie Sargent and you're in trouble.
Daniel aboard, and she's perfect, 3 for 3 on stolen bases here this weekend. Well, I could almost apply that to the entire season. I want to say she's 44 out of 45. Something like that. She's been caught stealing 1 time on the year.
Thank you.
Tim Kiernan out for a conference.
We've got a change. We're just not sure what it is yet.
Here comes the entire infield.
Santiago Canyon re-entering the game, the designated player, number 30, Emily Olegi.
Olegi will re-enter as the designated player after she was pinch run for her last time on base.
Just to illustrate your point, Mike, there's a re-enter right there, re-entry of a crucial player in the lineup.
Maybe they're watching the broadcast in the dugout.
And that's interesting because that's quite a bit later, going to the point that you were talking about. So that's that's possible. That's last inning. So that could be potentially overlooked as opposed to 10 seconds later after a player's out. It's like, of course, you're not going to forget to re-enter the player at that point.
And you see a lot of coaches. You saw Tim Kiernan do it on Friday, I believe. He made the re-entry before the inning was over. He walked right up and did that. Assistant coach is vital in keeping track of that information for the head coaches.
1 ball and no strikes on Olegi. Keep an eye on Daniel at first. There she goes. Late swing from Olegi and no throw from Luffel. Or are they going to say that she fouled it?
She left early.
Wow. Does that count as a caught stealing?
It does.
Statistically. Because if so, that would be news. Either way, Daniel erased from the base paths.
I think, that's a good question. All I know is it's an out.
So 2 down as Daniel broke early. And an opportunity for Bebout now as she works to Olegi with a 1-1 count. Here's the pitch. Olegi.
It's going to drop.
Fists that one out into right field for a base hit. Well, how big is the call now? Daniel would have easily cruised to third on that one.
Maybe home, the speedy one.
So Olegi with another base hit. She's got 2 today. And another base runner with 2 down, and that'll bring up Vigurtsa.
It's interesting you talk about making note of that re-entry. There have been times that certain PA announcers got involved in that, just making sure that a certain head coach who's probably watching right now.
See, that's that kind of little home field advantage that I really like. Kind of gives like sports like some color, like a little bit to it,
And I say that with all due respect. You just get caught up in the game. They're multitasking from the first pitch on.
Fastball inside to Vigurtsa, who's had a big day at the plate. She's 2 for 2, a pair of singles and a walk. 2 runs scored, a run batted in.
Filling up the stat sheet right there.
Boy, what a big call that is on Daniel. Potentially. Let's see if there's another comeback for Sacramento City before it's all over. 7-4 right now in the top of the 5th. Olegi to the point before. Now, of course, she's already been pitch run 4-1, so she has to stay in the game at this point. So she's at first.
Right. You're getting it.
Vigurtsa. Yeah, that's it. Give me like a few months of doing this. And
that's right.
Some of the stuff will start to sink in,
Took me a couple years. You're more advanced than I am.
2 balls, no strikes the count. That one tails outside. 3 balls, no strikes for Bebout, who's not making it easy on herself. Giving up a couple of base hits.
It's like volleyball with that libero.
Yeah, it's a good call.
Lanksberry would be next. As Luffel comes out, wants to have a word with Bebout. And we're ready to go. 3 balls, no strikes. The outfield takes a couple of steps back for Vigurtsa, who has good power. Pulls the bat back on the inside corner. Vigurtsa tried to sell it. I've never really seen that play work.
Not one time. Oh, you're right. It was a ball.
No way.
I don't really feel like the umpires really like that. Like to be urged.
You got to watch out when you do that on the next pitch.
Yep.
Anything close is going to be a strike.
Yeah. As long as we're dealing with human beings. You're going to see stuff like that. 3-1 the count now.
Vigurtsa just gets the bat on the ball.
She chops that one off the plate, so the count goes full.
Jeff, you're right. No human would call balls and strikes that way.
It was interesting. We were getting pronunciations
Symmetrical
at the banquet.
ball and strike calling.
Little Ghostbusters reference there for you. Pretty apt considering that the remake's coming out this year.
Yeah, there you go.
Looking forward to that. We're at the banquet getting pronunciations as we introduce them to the crowd.
And one inside and back to the screen, but Olegi will just head to second.
And Cherie Shoemake, the public address announcer here, getting them for me and her, obviously, and walked up to Santiago Canyon, talked to the table of one of the tables of girls, and was going through the lineup, and they were playing us. They said they said her name is Vigurtsa. And it's a little bit, it's close, but they're still playing with us. And so when we.
Yeah, that would have got me.
Yeah, instead of Vigurtsa.
But 2 on, 2 out for Lanksberry.
When it got to Vigurtsa, she said, no, it's not Vigurtsa.
Pitch high from Bebout. 1 ball and no strikes. And what had been a quiet inning after the first 2 had been retired. Now some danger developing for Allison Bebout. With 2 on and the very dangerous Caitlin Langsbury at the plate. Popped up over the screen, back this way. This one's finally coming my way.
And it's an error on the fan who dropped the can of corn.
I had my glove ready. Bebout looking into the dugout, has the sign. Here's the pitch to Langsbury. Swung on, base hit to left. Olegi over to third, but she will hold there. And I don't know that anyone short of Jessica Daniel was going to score on that base hit. That was really ripped by Langsbury and got out to Welch in a hurry.
Yeah, unless you're running straight from second to home. Completely bypassing third base.
Why is that not allowed? I don't understand. It's the shortest distance.
Bob McCloskey inning right here.
Absolutely.
And as we are in the fifth.
Right?
It's official. It's a Bob McCloskey moment. Here comes Soika. And she's had a big day at the plate as well. A single, hit by a pitch, a sacrifice fly, in on the hands, played by Avila. She'll go to first to retire the side. 3 more left on base for Santiago Canyon. And we will see if that ends up being telling as we move forward. We head to the bottom of the 5th, 7-4. Santiago Canyon on top on SoCalCollegeSports.com.
Would like to remind everybody next week, SoCalCollegeSports.com back out again on the road, this time from Fresno for the baseball championships. 2016 Final Four in baseball in the 3C2A. Mike Cepeda, Jeff Stoynoff, I believe Phil White.
Is this our own? Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing Phil, Jerry, and the guys up there again. It's
Paul Moore, Jerry White.
Always a pleasure. Is this
Len Money?
Is this our own like Diamond Madness here in May?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So covering both events, I feel like we got with the 2 weeks. I think we're into madness territory now. I think when you can
Diamond Madness, I like it.
When you can make it 2 weeks. Let's get back to last inning though, and potentially a very telling moment, a real opportunity missed for Santiago Canyon as they leave 3 on base, but it could have been so much more. But Jessica Daniel called out as she left early from first base.
Actually, I went down and talked to the Softball Sports Information Director, Andrew Wheeler. I'm going to let this first pitch come, and then I'll explain a little bit more about it.
It's Callie Sargent swinging at the first pitch. Down the left field line, just foul as it cleared the fence. Sargent almost cut into this lead with 1 swing.
So she gets credit for the stolen base. She did not leave first base early. What happened, it was the ball got into the circle. And Jessica Daniel, who had already stolen the base, took a step off the bag. That's leaving early. So she was called out for leaving early from second.
So it's a stolen base at second and then left early from second base.
You cannot, once the ball is in the circle, you cannot take a step off the bag.
Wow. Perhaps a consolation that does little to assuage any of the disappointment for Santiago Canyon, certainly, as they still lost the base runner. But very, very interesting, and obviously for Daniel, an unfortunate miscue on the base pass.
And she probably didn't even know what she was doing. She didn't keep track of where the ball was.
Yep.
But you have to. You have to.
Yeah. Kind of thing that can so very easily happen. 2 balls now. 1 strike on Sargent. So Narwhal gets a word from Brittany Howe. She will gather herself, trying to take this to a potential Game 7. 3 balls, 1 strike the count on Sargent. Here's the pitch from Narwhal. High fly ball, shallow right field, playable for Soika.
I was worried when I see those infielders backpedaling. The lip of the grass on these fields can really trip you up. But it's not. And walking the field the other day on Thursday, it is not a pronounced lip. At least over on the first base side. I think it's a little more definite on the third base line, down the third base line and behind third base.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Caitlin Luffel slip as she went to throw, but otherwise the footing looks like it's been very good. I haven't seen anything in the way of a lot of difficulty maintaining footing. I suppose there was one on the base pass as well, but that kind of thing happens in the play. 1 ball, 1 strike. Katie Lopez is 1 for 2. Big RBI double back in the third. Narwhal into the wind. Here's the 0-2. Swung on and missed. 3 pitches, 3 strikes, and Lopez is gone. So Narwhal, just when we started to talk about it, she was struggling. 5 hits in 9 batters. And then 5 out of 6 retired since that point. And she seems to have gathered herself once again, and she's back on cruise control.
And you talk about her, this is probably the 3rd time I've said this game. She gets stronger as the time goes on.
First pitch is outside to Gabby Avila. Avila's 0 for 1, also been hit by a pitch.
Somebody's warming up in that Sac City pen, and it is not Callie Sargent.
Here's the 1-0.
And now she just left, so I don't know if she's warming up the catcher possibly.
2 balls, no strikes. You start to wonder if they're looking ahead toward Sargent possibly having to go in a what-if.
I want to say it's Gabby Ortiz.
It's a lefty.
Yeah, well, Ortiz has the next most innings after Bebout and Sargent, obviously.
So it is a lefty.
Gabby Ortiz?
Yeah, I'm going with that, yeah.
And Ortiz, if it is Ortiz, has been in spot duty, has been dominating, judging by the numbers, with an ERA under 1. Here's the pitch. Inside, and did it get a piece of her? And it did. So Avila, hit by a pitch for the 2nd time today, has to be wondering, what did I do?
And you have to think that with the proclivity for Narwhal being inside, that doesn't happen more often.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jeff, who's number 1 on Sac City?
Oh.
Cheyenne Newman. It's number 1 in our hearts here at SoCal College Sports. So Newman will be the batter. Another stoppage in play.
Number blocked by the hair.
It happens.
Okay, there we go.
It happens in softball and in NFL secondaries.
Sure. The luscious locks.
So Newman stands in, 0 for 2. Reached on an error, popped to second. Shows bunt. The pitch from Narwhal to called strike. Avila at first base with 2 down. I don't know. Sacramento City, not quite the prodigious running team that Santiago Canyon is, but they will go. 1 hopper to Lanksberry, strong throw to retire the side. We're through 5 complete. Santiago Canyon 6 outs away from a potential what-if. They lead at 7-4 here on SoCalCollegeSports.com. Top of the 6th inning from Bakersfield College in the 2016 CCCAA Softball Championships here on SoCalCollegeSports.com. It's the bottom of the order due up against Justin Bebout. For Santiago Canyon, Ashley Clark, 1 for 3 on the day, had a big RBI single her last time up. Gets a running start and fouls that one away.
Sargent back in the pen down there.
Okay, so yeah, we get a sight of Callie Sargent starting to work again. The outfield shades Ashley Clark a couple of steps the opposite way as Bebout continues to work outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Clark having another strong weekend. She's now batting .364 here in the championship. Gets into this one, past Ortiz into right field. And we'll wait and see on the scoring. Ortiz was cheating in, didn't have a whole lot of time, but that one slid under her glove, and Clark is at first.
Ortiz taking 2 steps to her left, and the ball hit behind her and unable to reach down and grab it.
Well, then I'm going to go ahead and call that a single.
I got it a single.
So Clark is aboard, and that puts good speed on the base paths for Brittany Howe. And Howe has been exceptionally clutch today. 1 for 1, also walked twice, and she has a couple of runs batted in. Off-speed pitch in there for a strike for Bebout. This becomes a very big moment for Justin Bebout. Couple innings left here, and right now Sacramento City down 7-4. Certainly anything can happen from here, but if Santiago Canyon can put a couple of runs on the board here, I think they can really start looking forward to a potential Game 7. Late break, here's the throw down in time. A throw from Leffel to cut down Ashley Clark trying to steal.
Flashing a pretty good arm.
That was good. And they did the pitch out on that one. They knew it was coming. They anticipated.
So that clears the bases for Brittany Howe. Bebout with a long look has the sign. Here's the 1-1 pitch. Howe late on that one, fouls it off. Down on the count now, 1 ball and 2 strikes. So Bebout continues to work at a measured pace. She's ready. In on the hands, and that one just fouled off by Howe as she tries to stay alive. Good location from Justin Bebout. Brittany Howe. Started to play more and more as the season's gone on. Taking over at first base. 1 hopper back to Bebout. Easy throw to first, 2 down, base is empty, and that'll bring up Krista Carranza.
You really see Gabby Ortiz over at first making a emphatic step on the bag after being called for it twice for pulling. Not just once in this game, once either yesterday or the day before.
No, it was yesterday.
It was yesterday.
Yeah, and once today then as well.
Sargent up in the bullpen for Sac City.
Drag bunt attempt. Fouled off by Carranza.
She's still in the box, so it's not an out.
She's 1 for 2 on the day. Singled back in the second. She has a run batted in. And Carranza, I think anything they get from her at the plate is gravy. Obviously, the major contribution, Orange Empire Conference Defensive Player of the Year, and really anchors a tremendous infield at the shortstop position.
And isn't it nice to have that kind of speed at the bottom of your lineup?
That one just outside.
Leffel trying to frame that one.
Right. Well, who could blame her?
Yeah.
Seen that outside pitch called for a strike quite a bit.
Kind of goes to show you, we talk about the Defensive Player of the Year award there for Carranza. Katie Gravel legged one out versus her. Talk about some speed in the lineup for Sac City. That was impressive. Makes it even more impressive.
Here's the pitch from Bebout. again. Carranza shows bunt. Taking a look ahead to the bottom of the 6th inning, it's going to be the top of the order due up for Sacramento City. That's Madison Butkoff.
It's just what you want if you're the Panthers.
Well, that's where the damage has come. Gabby Ortiz, Caitlin Leffel to the plate, potentially. But for now, Bebout still has to deal with Carranza. Here's the pitch. Bunted foul again. Two balls, 2 strikes the count on Carranza.
This would be a huge out for Bebout and the Panthers.
Well, obviously, if there's any team that's going to feel a lot of confidence going into the late innings, that one roped through the right side for a base hit. So Carranza, nice piece of hitting there as she steps forward, and so often we see that slap to the left side.
The gravy applied.
But she, absolutely. It's a generous heaping of gravy at the bottom of the order.
Yeah.
Santiago Canyon. But stay with the point. That's a nice piece of hitting to have the body control to turn on that one and rope it through the right side for a base hit.
Well, the right side of the infield is not anticipating that ball is going to be hit to them. They hear the crack of the ball on the bat, and they are moving over. You could see Ortiz that time as well, moving over to cover the bag instead of making the play defensively. She's not necessarily expecting it to come her way.
First pitch to Jordan Hicks. Carranza breaks for second. High throw, the tag down, but not in time. So Carranza with a stolen base. Yeah, you give it to Santiago Canyon. They're not shy.
No.
They get a runner thrown out on the base pass, they go right back to it.
Remember, she had a steal yesterday after she was hit by a pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was faking it.
Carranza, the only player in this championship round that for sure I'm going to call any bet she makes at the poker table.
She was not faking it. Let's get that straight. She wasn't doing that. It just it was an interesting scenario to think that, yeah, I'm going to lay down here and make them think that I'm injured. And then first pitch, she goes down. That's a great strategy.
I want to be very clear. That's obviously, we're just joking around.
Coaches watching out there, use that once in a while to put that into your data bank.
Yeah, listen, I'm not asking for all the credit in the world. If that play ends up working eventually, that's fine. Keep it for yourself. I'm not demanding credit for it.
She poured the drama on it pretty thick there.
Looper behind the bag, tracked down by Butkoff to end the inning.
Hey, it worked out. She got a stolen base out of it.
No runs, 2 hits, no errors, 1 left. We head to the bottom of the 6th. 7-4, Santiago Canyon on top. It's the CCCAA Softball Championships here on SoCalCollegeSports.com. Head to the bottom of the 6th. And for the second time here on championship weekend, Sacramento City is going to have to come up with something late in the way of a comeback to pick up a victory. They trail at 7-4 as they bat here in the bottom of the 6th, but here is the opportunity with Butkoff at the top of the order due up, followed by Gravel and Ortiz against Riley Narwald. First pitch just outside. Butkoff is 1 for 3. Picked up her first hit of the championship round with a double to left center her last time up, and she really roped the ball. So if you're a Panther fan, you're hoping that Butkoff is finding the range tailing just inside. 2 balls, no strikes.
Man.
And are they starting to lay off more pitches from Riley Narwhal here in the last couple of innings?
They are.
Maybe work from ahead in the count more where Narwhal has to get more of the plate. Here's the 2-0. That one down the middle.
That's the kind of pitch, that last one, that you kind of hoped you'd get from.
Yeah, absolutely.
From Riley Narwhal, and they're not swinging at it.
Well, Butkoff probably just thinking about trying to get on base. And that one inside, so we'll see if she gets the green light here. But judging by the 2-0, I think the bat's going to be on the shoulder here for the 3-1 pitch. Butkoff predictably with good speed at the top of the order as well with 15 steals and 16 attempts. So she gets on base.
You have a 50-50 chance of getting on base without doing anything on that if you take.
And again, Narwhal down the middle. So 3 balls, 2 strikes on Madison Butkoff.
You still have a 50-50 chance on this pitch, but the bad thing is that negative 50% of that is an out.
Chop toward third. Langsbury with the diving stop, but they call it foul.
So a leadoff walk or base hit would go a long way towards trying to cut into the 3-run lead here for Santiago Canyon.
Meanwhile, there's a huge, huge gap in right center field as Daniel has shaded over toward left center. This one sky high to shallow left. Hicks moving in to make the catch.
And that's why they did that.
I think the last one that she roped was right to left center, so a little bit of an adjustment there. But in any event, Butkoff retired with the first out, and that'll bring up Gravel, who's 1 for 3, singled back in the third. 2 runs scored on the day for Katie Gravel.
Don't be surprised to see Gravel try to bunt for a hit. She's speedy. We saw that in the third.
Starts to walk into that one and instead takes it for a strike.
Hawk defense thinking the same thing.
Yeah, Gravel, just looking at handling the bat, has 9. Check that. Misread my stats. But has shown an ability to handle the bat very well. In any event, you could simply say that by the eye test. 1 ball and 1 strike the count now. And the outfield has moved way in for Gravel, so trying to cut off any potential soft liner. Waves at that one and misses, and Gravel down in the count. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
This thing about slap hitters, you know, they can look so horrible on certain pitches.
Yeah, if they get one that's hard to handle. And that one was way outside. No one was really going to be able to put a bat on that one.
They have to make a commitment. You know, they make a commitment, and they just look awkward. But then they get on.
Trying to slap that one the opposite way. So Gravel stays alive. Katie Gravel had been struggling at the plate coming into this game, but she's had a good outing here today, getting on base a couple of times. So just in time for Sacramento City. Trying to bring home what would be championship number 4? Or 5. Yes. All right, I shorted him one. Popped up behind the plate. Gertza has it. Gravel retired, 2 up, 2 down for Narwhal. And now she'll face Gabby Ortiz, but in the situation where she would have to want to, 2 outs and bases empty.
This would be the 4th for Tim Kiernan. Bob Maglione won one in 2004 as the head coach of the Panthers. Both Hall of Fame members as coaches, Maglione and Kiernan.
Big swing from Ortiz, and she fouls back to the screen. Ortiz go back to the meeting between these two teams back on January 30th, and it was Ortiz in the 5 hole, but she's been batting 3rd for the entire championship round, and you wonder if maybe Ortiz is just gradually going to hitting the ball better and better as the season's gone on, as they've shaken up the lineup. Reaches out and cues this one in foul territory. So Ortiz quickly in a hole. No balls and 2 strikes. She has a perfect afternoon at the plate going 2 for 2 with a walk. Narwhal working on her 20th inning here in the last 24-hour span.
She's just getting warmed up.
And Ortiz again out in front. Fouls that one back.
Off-speed pitch. kind of dangerous to Ortiz. She actually was drawing a bead on it.
Yeah, well, the one up in the zone, she was just a little early on it, but yeah, she gets the timing down on that one, and I think it's get ready out near the barn. She's left center.
She's the kind of batter that if she was a right-handed batter, she'd be seeing nothing but inside pitches from Narwhal.
Tried the outside corner that time. One ball, 2 strikes to count. Ortiz from the left side. Here's the pitch. Hard grounder to second, but Soika right there. Easy deasy. 1-2-3 for Riley Narwhal. We head to the bottom of the 6th, 7-4. Santiago Canyon trying to force the what if. Daniel Olegi and Vigurtza due up here in the top of the 7th for the Hawks, leading at 7-4. Bebout working into her 4th inning in relief of Kelly Sargent. First pitch to Daniel. Takes that one high, 1 ball and no strikes. Daniel's 1 for 3. Base hit her last time up.
I think you are at the point where Sacramento City College is saving Callie Sargent for the next game.
Waves at that one and misses. 1 ball and 1 strike.
And Justin Bebout's done all right.
Yeah, she went 4 2/3 scoreless, but she did struggle in this one. She's right now slated she would suffer the loss in the game, but really the 1 inning where it got away from her, and then she settled down after that against a very potent lineup. I mean, this is not an easy an easy road to go against this lineup. 2 balls, 1 strike. You're gonna give up some runs here if you're playing against Santiago Canyon.
You know, it's a unique lineup in the way they produce their offense, the way they produce runs in the last couple Final Fours down here. You look at some of the San Antonio teams that were really good down here. They were not small ball. They were not, while they were very athletic on the base paths, you'd see home runs. You'd see balls off the wall. Completely different types of offense. This is unique in a potential championship team.
Bebout has the sign. Here's the pitch. Swung on and missed. Daniel down on strikes to start the 7th. That'll bring up Olegi. She's 2 for 3. Couple of base hits. Walked intentionally. She has 2 runs scored.
And that's just what Sacramento City College wanted. They wanted to keep Daniel off the base path with Olegi coming up.
Bebout ready, kicks and delivers. In on the hands, great location. That one fouled back to the screen. No balls and 1 strike. Talked about Olegi and the great weekend that she's having with a couple of hits today. Olegi is now 6 for 12 in championship weekend.
That's 500%, 50%.
Well, I tell you, the
math,
it's not just how accurate you are, it's how quick you are with it as well.
Yeah. I'm a math guy from way back. My sister Nancy Folsom would certainly attest.
That's like guys like us. We like it. We like the stats. You know,
my
stats
sister,
guys.
my sister is a math genius, and she always was incredulous at how stupid I was with math.
Siblings. I've got a couple. 2 balls, 1 strike. On Olegui.
It's not anybody who can fail geometry in high school.
I'll tell you, I failed a quarter of trigonometry.
I'm talking geometry.
It hasn't hurt me in my life that I'm aware of. But
no,
but still, I did not understand, and I don't understand. Hard ground ball through the wickets. So Avila unable to field that one. Olegui on the error by Olegui, or I should say by Avila. So a base runner for Santiago Canyon. Well, I think we've talked a little bit about the dirt, and it can be a little tricky for the infielders. And I think maybe Avila was maybe expecting that ball to take that little bounce up that we sometimes see on that second bounce. And instead, that one just stayed down. And through the 5-hole, I think if I can make the hockey reference for Avila. And a runner on with 1 out. But, it's got to be difficult on a hard hit ball on a dirt infield to really. I mean, it's amazing how often not an error is made, but how often the player actually comes up with the ball is just as amazing to me.
That was just a shot.
Yeah, I mean, it was a hard hit ball, and you're not. It would be a hard enough play, I think, on the truest surface you could find.
Yes, and this is not
one,
true.
It's near impossible.
No dirt infield is true.
Exactly. I mean, it's a different kind of situation entirely. 1 ball and no strikes now. The count on Vigurtza, who is having an outstanding afternoon. 2 for 2, a couple of walks, a couple of runs scored, a run batted in, and she comes up here with Olegui at first and 1 down. Bebout picking up the pace now, ready. That one outside. 2 balls and no strikes.
You know, you can talk about infields all you want and how they can groom him and make him look great. This is the 6th game on this infield.
Yep.
And you can make it, I think, on the surface look really good, but down below, once you get past that top layer, you've got some divots, you've got some holes, and you can't see that necessarily after 6 games.
Yeah, that's a great point, because oftentimes when we're talking about that second hop that we see where the ball kind of pops up or takes a little bit of a weird hop, and we've seen some of that. Usually that's right about where the base path would be.
Right.
And that's a lot about that. That's just going to be trampled down a little bit, and you're going to get those marks in there.
Just so you know, guys, sorry to interrupt, they switched out 32 for Olegui on first.
They did do that.
Olegui.
Well, she is the DP. She is not a position player, and if I'm not mistaken, that makes a difference.
Okay, so Olegui can remain in the game.
She can.
Even though she's been.
Yes.
Okay. And it's Shannon Thornton, who we had talked about some this weekend. Had a great season on the mound, but Riley Narwald has been handling the pitching duties. But so Thornton at first. And Vigurtza ahead in the count as Bebout readies. Here's the pitch. Check swing, back to the box. Bebout goes to first to retire Vigurtza for the first time today. On the play, Thornton moves to second with 2 down, and that'll bring up Langsbury. We're in the 7th with Santiago Canyon trying to force.
What'd I miss?
A all-or-nothing Game 7 for the 2016 softball championship. Check swing back to the box. Bebout fielding the position. Langsbury.
I was behind you.
Bebout, it was back to, yeah. Okay, so now we're all on the same page.
We are, and I just wanted to get clarification on that. The
first pitch swinging, twisting line drive, tracked down by Newman. So Langsbury hits it on the screws, but Newman there to track it down, and we will head to the bottom of the 7th. Sacramento City needs to come up with one more answer this weekend. They trail at 7-4 here on SoCalCollegeSports.com. And we head to the bottom of the 7th. And Sacramento City, who comes in today just 1 win away, trying to finish it off and win their 5th state championship in school history, but looking more and more like they're going to have some work to do because they are down 7-4 with 3 outs left. Leffel, Welch, and Sargent due up against Narwhal the first pitch. On the outside corner.
And it's not like we haven't seen something like this weekend.
Yeah.
Even from this,
it's true.
Sacramento City College Panthers.
Yeah, in particular, it would seem. Down to their last out in Game 3 against San Mateo, and they came back. That was a 2-run deficit, but they put 3 on the board.
Right. I would not be surprised to see some kind of walk-off action here.
Well, the way Narwhal, other than the one inning where she really struggled, a couple of fielding miscues behind her, aiding the big inning from San Mateo. For much of that outing, and certainly for yesterday and going into today, she's been solid to spectacular, pretty much exclusively. 1 ball and 2 strikes. She's not given up a whole lot of big innings since that one.
And you look at the batters she's facing in this 7th. They're all righties, and that plays to her strength.
Bodes well. Leffel's 2 for 3. Reaches out and pokes this one foul.
And she's sticking outside.
Yeah. Well, it gets back to something you talked about before when you talked about with Coach Nicole Borg and an adjustment, and maybe there's been an adjustment on that inside pitch because as this game has gone on, she's been more willing to work to the outside as opposed to you go back to the Cypress game last night where she worked over and over again to the inside and it didn't seem like any adjustment was made. Big swing and a miss and Leffel down on strikes.
Came up with a riser on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. That one out over the plate but up in the zone and Leffel couldn't catch up. And that'll bring up Morgan Welch. She's 0 for 3. Welch came in batting .354. The 6 home runs on the season. But she can't hit a 3-run home run with the bases empty, so
no
balls, 1 strike.
Morgan, the second Welch sister at Sacramento City College after Ashton. There before her for a couple years. Great pitcher.
Hard line drive in for a base hit. Welch rips that one to left. So a base runner aboard for Sacramento City. And puts the tying run on deck. And Callie Sargent coming to the plate.
1 hit at a time. That's how the Panthers have to look at this.
First pitch to Sargent, goes back inside and gets the call. So
I think
no balls, 1 strike.
I think that's what Sargent's going to see this entire at-bat.
Wind starting to pick up just a bit, working from left to right, as it has been really all weekend. And it's the Sacramento City faithful trying to make some noise. No balls, 2 strikes, Sargent quickly in a hole. She's 0 for 3 today at the plate.
Out in the first to end the first on that 5-6-3.
Yes, off of Langsbury.
Yeah. Which was hard hit.
That one up high and Sargent fouls it away. So Narwhal going high in the zone and Sargent couldn't lay off. Count remains no balls and 2 strikes.
She's got to stick inside.
Narwhal rocks and fires. Again, high in the zone this time, taken for a ball. Katie Lopez would be next. One ball, 2 strikes. Here's the pitch. Fly ball, center field. Daniel moving left, and she muffs it. Quick throw into second, and they get the runner. What a heady play. So I'm not exactly sure how we're going to score that. It should be, I think it's an error, but then a fielder's choice. Is that?
You've got an error. You got an E. Sargent reaches on an E8. And then you've got 8-6 for out number 2 of Welch.
Wow. So Sargent lifted one to right center, and Daniel had a long run, but she was
did.
there
And
in plenty of time, and it looked like she just took her eyes off it momentarily.
And you mentioned the wind.
Yep, absolutely taking that one away from her. But either way, a very heady play out there to get the ball. And Morgan Welch, who has to wait and assume that ball is going to be caught, gets the late break, and it ends up turning into a long force out. So disaster averted, and now Sacramento City down to their final out.
Your attention, please. Entering the game for Sergeant number 11.
Bailey Zagan in now to run at first base for Sargent.
So Zagan will run. Katie Lopez will be the batter. She's 1 for 3 on the afternoon. In Game 7, if necessary, will come up 45 minutes.
Approximately is the word I keep getting whenever anybody says that. Approximately.
After the conclusion of our game here. First pitch just outside.
After yesterday, approximately became the operative word when talking about time at any time.
I think by Game 5 yesterday it was we'll get the next game started as soon as we can.
Right.
And it was a very, very full day here, day 2 of the softball championships. Here's the 1-0 to Lopez. Tailing outside, 2 balls, no strikes. Taking a look. And Narwhal, fairly typical outing. She's scattered 8 hits, but generally held this offense at bay as that one's fouled back. Sad. Well, let's see. One. Is that 2 or 3 errors behind her? But every time she's come up with an answer. Yeah, 3 errors behind her, but here she sits, just 1 out away from probably going back to the mound for Game 7. Driven to right center. Closing in. Clark's got it. We're heading to Game 7. We'll come back, set things up for Game 7. Santiago Canyon 1 down, 1 to go. We'll have 1 to determine our state championship here on SoCalCollegeSports.com.